What up, Twitcherverse? Yeah, CovertGoBlue. Oh, they didn't know. They better call somebody. What am I doing? There we go. Set all this newfangled shenaniganry up. Enable microphone, broadcast party chat.
Audio is now being included. I just made a post real quick. I just said, hey guys, come over to CovertGoBlues as we're going to break down the sets card by card.
I'm just gonna play some Thopters or something while we talk. Kicks and giggles.
Yep.
The last of the gold grind.
Let me get on
Let me see if they can hear you. Ads! More ads. Ads and ads and ads.
Go blue. I'm surprised you haven't caught up to me in followers. I mean, you stream way more often than I do.
You're a special case, dude. I can't just replicate your success. Hey, it's working. Sweet.
Some people like being called a stupid motherfucker in chat.
Some people like other people being called stupid, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, am I allowed to say that? I should have asked.
On my stream, go ahead.
Alright, cool.
I may choose not to, but the guests can say what they want. That's all good. I'm also just going to send this over to YouTube so we can get right into it. We don't have to wait for people.
Oh, okay, cool. I just want to hit that follow button real quick. Alright.
Thank you. Thanks, bro. Wow.
Does that make me a bad person?
You're all competitive. You're like, I
right.
don't follow anybody but me. I'm trying to beat them all at followers.
Exactly. Alright, so we can start off with the first card. I can't see the picture all too well. Let me turn my phone sideways. We have Allied Reinforcements. Three and a white. Sorcery. Put 2/2/2 white Knight Allied creature tokens onto the battlefield. What do you think?
Oh, well, I remember this was a card that you were briefly excited about for,
Not anymore.
yeah, for Jeskai tokens. Obviously, it is not Talrand's Invocation. They do not fly. Therefore, they are not, it's not that good. It's just, this is going to be...
I remember playing that.
I can't picture what this goes in other than a Valor and Akros deck, which I don't think anybody's going to want to play anymore. So this is one of those cards I'm going to gloss right over and never even look at for several weeks, probably.
Yeah, I have to give some input, I suppose. In M12, I played with Tolerance Invocation. It was pretty insane. This card was good and limited, and I think the only deck this will see play won't see play in Jeskai tokens anymore because the 4-mana slot is pressured for the cards. Like the cards have to be real good to get into the 4-mana slot. This card's just not good enough. I think the players who want to build their fun ally deck that they couldn't build before will be able to build it now. And I think this card fits in that list because it makes 2 allies. So that's something. I don't think allies will be good enough, but the people that like their elf deck and like their ally deck, they'll get to play this card and they'll like it, I suppose. But yeah, it's definitely a card that I'm ignoring.
Agree.
So the next card, Call of the Gatewatch, 2 colorless, 1 white, sorcery. Search your library for a Planeswalker card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. Thoughts?
First of all, I think this card is going to get played a lot. By I don't know if that's necessarily right because we've got a lot of planeswalkers and people love their super friends, and this is a super friends tutor. And you couldn't run you couldn't run 4 Gideons, but now you can sort of run 3 if you're willing to give up your 3rd spot in the curve. So this is going to see play. I'm probably going to look into a way to break it. I don't know if it's going to be as good as people think it will be because when you're giving up a turn to search for a planeswalker, that's usually not that good. But in duels, it might be because there's just a lower power level. Maybe it's better to waste your 3rd turn to make sure you have turn 4 Gideon or something else. It also makes Nahiri better because you can go get her if you're against an enchantment.
Yeah, I agree. When I look at Call the Gatewatch, it screams Steely Dano to me. I'm like, oh, this is something. This is something he'll play for sure. It also screams like just like those grindy players that love their control decks. And I was talking earlier, and we'll get to it as we go further down the road. I was talking about that black-white control deck, and so Call the Gatewatch theoretically lets you play more copies of your planeswalkers. Now the bad thing about the card was, and the reason why I was worried about it, about a couple months ago when we were waiting for Oath of the Gatewatch and we realized and we got the update that we weren't going to get until Shadows. I looked at the card and I said, "What is this tutor for? Gideon and Jace? Like those and Obnixilis, like those aren't good enough. Like so like if you're playing like a black-white deck, you have 2 planeswalkers and you have this, and you'll have those awkward times where you draw your planeswalkers and then you'll draw Call the Gatewatch and it's completely dead. So
Yeah.
like you'll have those awkward moments. But I think my opinion has shifted a little bit since we got 5 new planeswalkers in the new set. Is that
Something
how many it is, or is it
ridiculous.
4? Like there was an absurd amount of planeswalkers and shadows in the Innistrad, so I think Call of the Gatewatch got extremely better. Like I want to build a black-white deck for fun, put Sorin, Opnixilis, and Gideon in it, and just see where that goes. That like planeswalkers in this game are super good, but they're especially good in Magic duels, and I think Call of the Gatewatch will see play. I don't know if it's as good as people think it is, like you said, but we'll have to wait and see.
Right on.
So the next card is Dazzling Reflection. 1 white, a colorless, instant speed. You gain life equal to target creature's power. The next time that creature would deal damage to you, prevent it. So garbage.
I'm looking at this super fringe, not the type of thing I really want to slot in. I mean, even the things that I'd want to reverse, like Ulamog, are already going to exile your library. I could move right along from here.
For the general duels audience, I feel like Dazzling Reflection is just a whiff and a card that you just shouldn't play. But if we ever start to have on No Goblins Allowed, if we ever start to have actual like sanctioned tournaments with sideboards, this card might fit. But other than that, this card's garbage and should be ignored.
Sideboard one of maybe.
Yeah. So the next card, Eldrazi Displacer, 2 colorless, 1 white for a 3/3. It's devoid, so it has no color. You can pay 2 in a colorless mana, meaning you have to tap a card that can produce colorless. You exile another target creature, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. So, tell me what you think.
This card's pretty bad. I don't think anybody should ever play it. It's kind of like its ability doesn't really do anything, obviously. And what do you think?
Strictly worse than Dazzling Reflection. No. Eldrazi Displacer is my bet for out of the 304 cards we are getting. This is, I don't know if it's the best card, but it's pretty damn close. I would say I'd have to look at it a little bit, but it's definitely in like the top 3 best cards in this game. This card has a lot of unique things that it does, so you have to have like a colorless mana to be able to use this guy, but that's fine. You can use lands that Crumbling Vestige, like cards that we're going to talk about later. It's not that punishing to use. And the card is insane. Like it does 2 different things really. So it's key to note that it says exile another target creature, so it can't save itself. So that kind of sucks, but the card you don't need to, because you can play other cards that protect it. You can do other things to save it. But like, I want to build a deck where I'm just playing this guy and I'm bouncing Whirler Rogues and Reflector Mages, man. I'm just putting Whirler Rogues into play, getting tokens, and I'm bouncing Reflector Mage and bouncing their creatures back to their hands. We'll talk about that later. And also, this card has a unique thing where if you're ahead on board and you don't need to use Eldrazi Displacer on your own creatures, you can use Eldrazi Displacer on their guys because it enters the battlefield tapped. Like they enter back tapped. So like if you can go aggressive with this card and just aggressively tap down their creatures to get in damage. So like, this card is just well-rounded and just so powerful.
Looking pretty good. And yeah, in case you guys didn't catch it, I'm being sarcastic. This card is ridiculous. It's pretty bonkers. I can't believe it's in this game because of how messed up it can be, the kind of games it can lead to. And if you don't kill it, like you're gonna have a hard time doing anything useful for whatever the duration of the game
Exactly.
is. So yeah,
Alright.
get your hands on that one. All right, let's
Yeah,
roll right
definitely
along.
good.
Put it on the short list.
Alright, so Expedition Raptor, 3 in white for a 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you support 2. Support is put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. And support is it's good to note that when you support, you can't put the counters on one creature. You have to divide it up to other creatures. So you can't just put all the counters on one. So like there's a green rare that's 7 mana, it says support 6. You have to have 6 other creatures to put those counters on. You can't just put them all on one guy. So that's important to note.
Yep, support notes, everybody. This card, I don't have to say anything about. I can just pass from here.
I agree. So the next one, General Tazri, 4 colorless, 1 white for a 3/4. Legendary creature, ally. When it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for an ally card, reveal it, shuffle your library, and put that card in your hand. Then you can pay 1 of each color, and allied creatures you control get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures among the number of. I can't read that. It's too small. It's you get where X is the number of colors among
Creatures
something.
you control, right?
I don't know. That last ability is pretty irrelevant. I would assume. Like with General Tazri, you get to search a library for an ally, so it fits into that fun ally deck. You can go real deep and play 5 colors. I know people like Mega Beast would do something like that. So tell me what you think.
I'm not gonna touch this. I'm gonna, if you want an interesting review of this card, Nighthawk's down here in the comments, and I'm sure he's been brewing on this for a while. But I'm personally gonna pass. This isn't a CGB card, but those of you who just really want to take the allies to the max, you finally have a more compelling reason to do it than Manda Ambush Leader, and have fun with
Garbage. Yeah. So the next card, Isolation Zone. 2 in white. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature or enchantment an opponent controls until Isolation Zone leaves the battlefield. This card, to me, is a perfect example of something that would have been really oppressive when the game first came out, but now it just looks kind of meh.
Yeah, it looks like it's been completely outclassed by the other removal spells in the format. If you need enchantments for Delirium, I mean, it's not like you want this to die, but maybe you put it in there just to get a variety in case you have a Delirium effect in your deck. But otherwise, I don't see this card actually doing much, if anything.
I also think there are better enchantments that fuel Delirium too, so we'll get to those later. But we have Core Scythe Master, 2 in a white for a 3/1. It has first strike as long as it's attacking, and it is a ally. So again, for your ally decks, it gives you a mediocre 3-drop that you can play. Yada yada yada. Ready to move on?
Yes, I'm ready to move on. You don't need more of this card.
Yeah. Core Sky Climber, 2 in a 2 in a white for a 1/2, and for 2 mana it gains flying until end of turn. It is a ally. This is another bulk card that's just in the game for the people that want to build their ally decks.
Yep, these are the things getting between us and the cards we really want to talk about, everybody.
Yeah, like ancient crab. We'll get to it, guys. We'll go deep. So the next card, Linvala the Preserver. 4 white white for a 5/5 flyer. When Linvala the Preserver enters the battlefield, if an opponent has more life than you, you gain 5 life. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more creatures than you, put a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Thoughts?
I think this card was a bit overrated for standard, and I don't think he'll ever pan out there. But in duels, I think it's legit. I mean, it's one of the only good. Like there aren't that many great 6 drops that aren't in ramp decks, and even in ramp, this is a really good card if you're going to play Naya ramp. If you're going to play black-white control or some mid-range around Archangel Avacyn, I think this card will be fine, and I think people will play it. It'll be one of those things that's auto-included. Maybe it doesn't necessarily deserve it, but I think you'll see it plenty, and I think it'll have good effects plenty of the time. How about you? Did I lose my Peepy squeeps? Did I lose Peepy? What happened? I think we have the dreaded controller shutdown, so I'll do a quick PDA. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. I grabbed Peepy Squeeps, my buddy, he's in here, and we're talking about the set list for Oath and Shadows that just got spoiled. And so we were like, hey, what are you doing right now? Not too much. Why don't we just jump in chat, make a party, launch a Twitch, and have some fun? So that's what I'm doing. If I am playing horribly and getting owned over here in the game, it is because I'm not paying enough attention. And I'm really just trying to talk. It's Peepy Squeeps, legend of Chang. I've definitely said that a time or two. I don't think a deck will run heavy white, but I mean Naya ramp is a thing. It's not a thing now. I don't think it's a good thing, and it's okay if you want to say that. But I think Linvala is better in a ramp deck than most because it falls behind. Like Peepy's, like Linvala is kind of, ramp decks fall behind early, and Linvala kind of has an impact that way that catches you up. So that's why ramp came to mind. Are you back with me, peeps? Okay, he's like in and out of the party, but I can't hear him. All right, I'm gonna roll it along. Let me see if I can get him back in here really quick. Yeah, me too. I got kicked out of my own party. Got kicked out of my own party.
Back?
Yeah, check yourself and make sure that they can hear you in there, that option's on. Okay. Yeah, then I think we're back.
All right, so what we were talking about is Linvala. I was giving my 2 cents on it. I think the card is good in like a top end of a black-white control deck or a control shell as like the win condition. Like so if you're like behind, this card's really good, and it's also just good if you're not. Like it's just a beater. But if you're behind, you gain life and you get a 3/3, and that's some serious business. But like I also said, part of me really just wants to Eldrazi displace through this creature. So
you're getting gross. Oh man.
Getting infinite value is what I want to do.
That's so nasty. That's so nasty.
Like I think that's more of a 2-headed giant thing, but I definitely want to do it. So.
Right on. So I think I also waxed on Linvala while our party was out, so I think we can move along from that one.
Yep. All right. So the next card, Make a Stand. 2 colorless, 1 white. Instant speed. It's an uncommon. I guess we should state if these cards are uncommon or rares and commons, because that actually makes a difference in this game. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible until end of turn. What do you think?
Yeah, not for me. I could be missing it. Maybe there's like a really aggressive deck with enough white in it to play this that you blow up their Radiant Flames, but I mean it doesn't help against Languish, and the +1/+0 isn't really the kind of boost I'm looking for. So I'm passing on this card. But what do you think?
Alright, so I guess I gotta give I gotta give a couple of cents to this card. This was a card I was originally really excited for. It does everything that when I played in the Hakumai, I played Jeskai Tokens. I would have infinitely rather had this card over Keithion's Tactics. Keithion's Tactics was like a card that I had to play just so I can have like those absurd wins, but you didn't really need Keithion's Tactics to win a lot of games. It was just one of those over-the-top, like unlosable games that it created. And I think this card's just way better in the sense that it shaves one of the required white mana off, so it makes it easier to cast, which is super important. So I like that a lot. The fact that it gives a creature +1/+0, I feel like is fine because it gives your creatures indestructible and it's instant speed. So a lot of the times when even though I got board wiped quite a lot in the Hakumai and I was still able to stabilize, this is one of those cards where you can just play it and your creatures are saved and your creatures no longer die. So I think Make a Stand fits in a Jeskai token strategy or like a very aggressive like mono white weenie deck to stay alive from the board wipes, because a lot of the times you in duels you won't have a sideboard, so you'll have to be able to play something to mitigate like the board wipes that get played against you. And the more this game goes along, the more board wipes are going to be introduced, and everyone that plays black plays Languish in their main deck, and everyone that plays like big white, they play Planar Outburst. So I feel like Make a Stand will make a place in the game. It'll be in the deck as like a 1 of or 2 of.
Yeah,
and
not
it'll
a
be a
4
way
of, you guys. Don't just pack
to get
4.
them. Yeah,
Too
no.
situational.
I like if I build Jeskai tokens, and we'll talk about this later. If I play Jeskai tokens again, I don't think this card makes it as a 3 of. I think it'd be like a 2 of maximum. Alright, so the next card is a pretty big dud, so we can just go right over it. It's called McKindy Aeronaut. It's a 2-mana 1/3 flyer. It's an ally. Who cares?
Yep. Goodbye. Moving on.
Next. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Oh, I thought you said hang on. I was like, okay. Alright, so we have Oath of Gideon. It's 2 colorless, 1 white. When Oath of Gideon enters the battlefield, you put 2 1/1 white core ally creature tokens on the battlefield, and then each planeswalker you control enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on it.
And it's rare.
Yes.
You get 2. You get 2 of them max. This card is interesting. This one thing that's a big question mark for me is if there's a Planeswalker deck that runs like 4 or 5 colors with a whole bunch of the Oaths packed in, and then all the Planeswalker action. So I do think that this card will see play. I don't know. I mean, it's 3 mana for 2 tokens. That's not nearly as good for like your Jeskai token list, something that you want to do, but sometimes you take what you can get. I'm curious what you'll say about playing it in a token strategy. Me, I want to build it into a Planeswalker super strategy along with some of these other Oaths, because I'm not positive that'll be competitive, but it sure will be fun. So that's going to be on my day 1 to-do list. How about you?
Alright, so with the card, I'll be very brief on the token strategy. I don't think it's good enough for tokens. You're paying 3 mana for 2 1/1s, and I think the power level of these sets grew exponentially. So like I feel like the card's just not strong enough for a token strategy. Although it is important to note that if you play this card on turn 3 and you get 2 1/1 white allies, the next turn you can play Gideon, ultimate him, and he'll still be alive. So that's
busted.
relevant, I guess. So that'll be good. I don't know how good it'll be or if it'll be good enough, but that's something to take into consideration. And when we talk about the 4-color Super Friends or the 3-color Super Friends deck, I think the Oaths being playable completely relies on how good Oath of Chandra will be in this game. Because I think it being the removal spell, 2 mana to deal 3 damage, I feel like it'll rely on if that card is good enough that it actually kills enough creatures, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm not a fan of sorcery speed removal, but again, we'll wait and see if anything cool comes up. So the next card, Ondu War Cleric. It's 2 mana for a 2/2 human cleric ally. It has Cohort, which means you can tap it and tap an untapped ally you control, and you gain 2 life. So this is another ally for your ally deck. It's actually a decent 2-drop for you to play. It helps you against like the late against like to stabilize against the aggro decks. It's mediocre, but it works fine in your ally deck, and you can play it. And it won't be the worst card ever.
I disagree. It's really close to the worst card ever. I'm unimpressed. I can move on from that. You know, it's interesting since we don't have limited format to talk about that it's kind of hard to even, like, there are several of these cards I won't even look at. So I might be very brief on some of them, but you're welcome to flush it out for the peeps.
I get it. My name's Peepy for and all. Alright, so anyway, we have Shoulder to Shoulder, 2 and a white, sorcery speed, support 2, draw a card. Garbage.
Yeah, certified. I don't think you want to play this. I mean, maybe there's a world where you play red-white with dragon fodder into this, and that's like the very best thing you can do. But the odds of actually casting it on curve and making that a good use of your turn is pretty unlikely, especially at sorcery speed. So I'm not interested.
Yep. Alright, the next card we got is Spawn Binder Mage, 4 mana, 3 and a white, common, 2/4. Cohort, tap an untapped ally you control, tap target creature, another garbage ally that no one cares about.
I'm gonna dial up a blanket statement. If it says cohort, you're gonna have a hard time ever getting me to say something nice about it. I don't think there's any cohort ally card that I want. Just because generally speaking with allies, I mean, you're still mostly underpowered and overextending all the time to do anything. So it's not for me. This card isn't for me. Those of you out there looking to rock the Allies tribe, I wouldn't even advise this to be for you, but have at it if you want to. It won't be on my list.
Alright, so the next card we have is Step Glider, 4 and a white for a 2/2 or 2/4 flyer with vigilance, and for 2 mana, 1 and a white. It's uncommon. Target creature with a +1/+1 counter on it gains flying and vigilance until end of turn. This is another card that I think is a perfect example of a card that possibly could have seen play when the game first came out, but now that it comes out now, it's just garbage.
Now, wait, how much does this cost? What's the casting cost on this?
5 mana.
Are you on... Really, everybody, really? Oh my goodness. Yeah. If you care about the results of your games, don't play with this card. That's all.
Agreed. So the next card, Stoneforge Acolyte, 1 white for a 1/2. It is an uncommon core artificer ally. It has cohort. Tap an untap ally you control. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an equipment card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This card would be mediocre if there was actually a good equipment in the game, but since there's not a good equipment, this card's actual just garbage.
Yeah, they held off the good equipment cards. Not much more you can say.
Alright, so the next card, Wall of Resurgence. It's an uncommon, 2 and a white, for a 0/6 wall defender. When it enters the battlefield, you may put 3 +1/+1 counters on target land you control. If you do, the land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste that's still a land. What are your thoughts?
I'm curious what yours are going to be as the expert on building walls, but personally, this is one of those cards I'm curious about if there's a real home for it, and that's kind of a big deal to me. It is like, in a way, you get 2 bodies, you get 3 power and 9 toughness for 3 mana. That is well above the rate in duels, like well above it. Making your land vulnerable might be a big deal depending on the type of deck you're playing. I don't know. If this deck has a home, I'd be interested to find it. It's not obvious to me what the home is. How about you?
Alright, so I think the card fits pretty easily into like a blue-white control shell. Again, it's way better down the line if this is for all the tournament duels players on No Goblins Allowed. If sideboards eventually get get allowed for these tournaments, this will be a great card for your sideboard. It'll be pretty disgusting, but I also think it has a home in like a blue-white control deck in duels. I mean, it does what you want it to do. It keeps you alive in the early game. It also makes a threat that can kill your opponent. But I feel like there's just better cards for that deck. But this would be a fine one if the meta got really aggressive. But they nerfed a lot of red cards that didn't need nerfed, and then they just didn't give red a whole lot of tools this time around. So I just don't think Wall of Resurgence will be needed. Now, if you want to go deep with Wall of Resurgence,
Uh-oh,
then
we're
just
going
hop on the
deep.
train. Hop on the train real quick. If you follow my stream at Tippletown95, you will know that I'm very excited for this card. It's a wall, and I do comedic value, or try to do what I would like to call comedic value for my stream. And we built a deck, and we called it Donald Trump 2016, and we just put every single wall, Fortified Ramparts, a 2-mana 0/6, Guardians of Meletus, a 3-mana 0/6, some 0/5 Eldrazi for 2 mana, and this card would just go perfectly into the deck. It's a wall, it's a 0/6, it's a win condition, so Donald Trump 2016 is looking real good. Like, you can also bounce this card with Eldrazi Displacer and just flicker it and make a bigger guy and a bigger guy, which is another thing that I feel like this card could fit into, is like a blue-white tempo deck. But yeah, you can go real big with this card and like do lots of fun shenanigans, and I'm excited to build that deck and just to mess around. It's one of those fun little ideas I get a kick out of playing in on duels.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
The next card.
Hold
the
on. Let's
next
pause.
card-
Let's pause really quick for station identification. This is Peepy Squeeps, also known as Tip All Time 95. We're just going through the just spoiled information from Wizards of the Coast Magic Duels on Facebook. They gave us the list of what's in the next set, and we're just going right down the list. If you want to follow along, go to the Magic Duels Facebook page, or check out my blog post, Haunted Flowers Duels Diaries. And roll on, my brother. What do you got? It looks like we finally got the counter spell we need.
Alright, so I feel as if when we start to see bad cards, we'll just call it bad and move on to save some time. So we have Obtrusive Interference. I feel like Wizards is having a hard time coming up with names nowadays. It's 2 and a blue, instant speed, common, devoid, it's colorless. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 1, and then you put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi creature token onto the battlefield. It has sacrifice this creature, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Thoughts?
Garbage.
Garbage. Alright, cool. Next card. Ancient Crab. 1 blue, 1/5 crab. All I'll say is this perfectly fits into the Donald Trump 2016 deck. Other than that, it's garbage and you should never play it. Next card. Blinding Drone. 1 in a blue for a 1/3 devoid Eldrazi drone. You can pay a colorless, tap it, and tap target creature. I think this card is garbage, but then again, it also fits into the Donald Trump wall deck, so any thoughts?
This one is gonna be skipped right over by me. No, thank you. Garbage.
Okay.
Garbage stamp,
comparative
guys.
analysis.
Garbage.
Comparative analysis, 3 in a blue, instant speed, common. Target player draws 2 cards. It has Surge for 2 in a blue. What are your thoughts?
This is strictly better than Inspiration, which was already garbage. I feel like this may be a necessary evil if we don't get better card draw that I haven't seen so far. It might be better than Epiphany in some decks, but not many with Delirium around. I'd say most of the time you're probably better with Epiphany even with the drawback. That's my opinion.
I think comparative analysis looked really good a couple of months ago, but now that we know that Delirium's a thing and we have Artificer's Epiphany and Catalog, I think we will be wanting Delirium to trigger, but if you're just playing like a fair blue-white control deck, this will be strictly better than Inspiration, and sometimes it's a really, really good Divination, so this card will be played for sure. Next card. Containment Membrane, 2 colorless, 1 blue, enchantment aura, enchanted creature, enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, surge for 1 blue.
Garbage.
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 Alright,
Yeah, you don't need more of this effect. We've got enough of this in the game.
Yeah. Although it is the best version of this effect, so I have to give it that much.
But it doesn't. The problem I have is it doesn't tap the creature when you play it.
Exactly, which is why it's garbage.
Yep.
Alright, so Crush of Tentacles. 4 blue, return all non-land permanents to their owner's hand. If Crush of the Tentacles surge cost was paid, put a 8/8 blue octopus creature token on the battlefield. It's a rare and its surge cost is 5. Sorcery.
Mythic, right? Mythic? Is that right?
Mythic.
You get one of them.
Mythic. It's a mythic. That's right. You only get 1.
You get one of them. So, I mean, the problem with mythics, right? You can't build around them. Not really. So, can you slot this into an existing strategy that makes sense? I think that's actually not a sure thing. I don't know how many decks will see this. I don't think it necessarily fits in Control, although Control may see it. I do think it fits into, let's see, I would say like blue ramp, green ramp I think this fits into. But again, as a one-of, you can't really build around it, so you don't want to make too many deck building concessions around a card like this. So that leaves its effect pretty limited, but it is a cool card. It is probably very two-headed giant happy, and I am glad it's in the game, if nothing else, for the crazy effects it provides.
So with blue-white control, I consider this card a lot to be like comparative analysis. It's one of those cards where it's kind of a necessary evil. You're not happy to play the card, but you will, just so you don't get blown out by like token strategies. So this card's fine, and the card is it's important to admit that this card's absurd if you pay the surge cost.
Absolutely.
Actually absurd. So this is going to be one of the most played cards in Two-Headed Giant. This card's insane in Two-Headed Giant, and the fact that you can earn coins in Two-Headed Giant now is really cool. So this card's very solid. See lots of play. This is a shout out to Unbeatable and the Infamous crew. You guys,
they're all up on.
Probably fanboying, like all up on the Crush of Tentacles, and mad respect for it. I'm not one to touch Two-Headed Giant, but this card's real cool for those guys, so I feel like I have to give a shout out to them.
Right on.
Next card, 5 mana, 4 in a blue, uncommon, 3/4 flyer. When Cyclone Sire dies, you may put 3+1/+1 counters on target land you control. If you do, it's still a land, become a 0/0 elemental creature with haste and it's still land. So this card is the AI hard mode will play this card.
Yeah, a strict upgrade over whatever that 4/3 Scry Merfolk Rider dude is, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean, no, I'm still not touching this card. I really don't.
Yeah,
I don't think this fits into any strategy that makes sense.
The only relevant thing to say is if you are an avid hard mode AI player, prepare to see Cyclone Sire.
Yep, there you go. Tune up on
next
that.
Card. Yeah. Deep Fathom Skulker. 5 in a blue for a 4/4 devoid rare Eldrazi. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Then for 3 and 1 colorless mana, target creature can't be blocked this turn.
It's expensive. Let's see. It really is. It's an expensive card, but the effect isn't mimicked by like really anything else that we have. So this may be played. It may fit into like some kind of a token strategy, an Eldrazi strategy, but I wouldn't say it's overpowered, and it may not. While it may fit in some synergy strategy, I don't think it's really going to be anything close to a staple. It is overcosted.
Yep. Yeah, so I saw this card and I thought about tokens, but it costs 6 mana. There's just so many better cards that I'd rather play than this guy.
Yeah, the chat says Drowner. Drowner of Hope is what the chat is saying, and it's no Drowner.
Yeah, and this card is really solid and limited. I've played with it and I've lost to it, but it's just too overcosted for what it does. It does something extremely powerful. It shouldn't be overlooked, but the card's just not good enough, I don't think. So, The next card we have Jesus.
You can do it. You can do it.
Dimensional.
Dimensional
Infiltrator.
Infiltrator.
I can't say that word. I don't know why. 1 in a blue, rare Eldrazi, devoid, 2/1, flash, flyer, and then you can pay 1 in a colorless, and target opponent exiles the top card of his or her library. If it's a land card, you may return Dimensional Infiltrator to its owner's hand.
Ta-da! So I just top-decked Chandra's Ignition at a crucial moment, so I'm slightly distracted. But good thing I know what this card does already. I actually think it will slot in very well either in blue Eldrazi decks or Simic Tempo or anything. This is an interesting card. It's going to be fun to play with, and I think if you're in a blue aggressive strategy, which used to be a kind of a Nombo in Magic, but now is more of a thing, then I think you should play this card and have fun doing it. I'm really happy it made the set.
So Dimensional Infiltrator is a Magic card that in Standard is very meh. It's seen play in Constructed, but in Duels, I think this card is actually really good.
Yeah.
It's a 2/1 flyer for 2. It has flash and it can protect itself by using its other ability, so it can protect itself. So it's a good card. It's also 2 mana and it's an Eldrazi, so you get to play this card on curve and your blue-red Eldrazi decks or whatever you're playing. So I think this card's actually very solid, and we'll see a good bit amount of play in Duels.
Now remind me there, is it target opponent exiles the top card of their library?
Target player exiles the top card, yes. So it will trigger your...
Yeah, you know what we're talking about, processors. We're talking about processing.
Yeah, hey, dude, I'm telling you, that 5 mana 4/5, that if you process 2 cards and you get 3/1/1 Scions, that card's a real deal.
There you go.
Card, if this fits into that strategy, that card is good.
Wasteland Strangler too, a card that you could never rely on. Yeah. So there's some stuff. I mean, this card it's a rare, so it's hard to rely on too, but you just get kind of a more redundancy in those effects, and maybe there's more to it. But let's move along. I'm dwelling, because Dimensional Infiltrator, though, it goes on the short list. It's actually going to be a card that matters, I think.
Gravity Negator, 4 mana, 2/3, flyer, devoid, common. Whenever Gravity Negator attacks, you can pay colorless. If you do, another target creature gains flying until end turn. Garbage.
Junkerific. No good. Make it go away.
Grip of the Royal. 2 in a blue. This is a Duels uncommon. Instant speed. It has Surge for 2 mana. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Draw a card.
Crippling Chill with a Surge ability, not really for me. For that price, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty hard to cast it for Surge, and especially at a moment that's really important. It could be kind of a, you cast multiple spells, you turn the game around in a big turn, but this isn't a card I really want to run. If I want that effect, I'm doing Frostlinks or I'm doing Bounding Crassus. Frostlinks isn't great by any means, but there's just better cards, and we're going to get to one of them, and its name starts with Reflector, that make this ability almost irrelevant now.
I will give you one better, though. Grip of the Royal, I think, could fit into the tutelage decks, as it stops a guy and draws a card.
Yep, you're getting some people in chat are with you on that one. Yep.
So I feel like this card could fit into the tutelage decks. I'm not looking at the chat. I have all the card lists up, so that's what I'm looking at.
Alrighty.
So I swear I didn't just.
Well, there's 30-some people having fun, so they're.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it is good. Hey
so
guys.
we have Jwar Isle Avenger. I think this card's 4 mana. No, it's 5 mana.
5 mana. 5 mana for a 3/3.
It's either 3 in a blue or 4 in a blue. For a 3/3 flyer, and it has Surge for 3 mana, 2 in a blue.
I don't see this one working out.
See,
I think
this
it's
is
too
where I'm
ambitious
gonna.
for me. But go ahead. Go
This
ahead.
is where
Hit
I
me.
want to disagree with you.
All right.
I think this card could see play, man. And the reason why I'm going to say this is we'll get on later in a minute when we'll talk about a card called Storm Chaser Mage, and if you notice, they give us a lot of 1 mana cards that trigger Surge, and I feel like there's room for a blue-red aggro tempo deck that you play like Storm Chaser Mage, Jawar Isle Avenger, and then you play like Slip Through Times and Expedites. So you expedite, draw a card, give a guy haste, and then you have your Surge activated, and then you just play your Surge cards. So I think there's a possibility this card could see play like a blue-red aggro deck. I'm not saying it's going to be like tier 1, but I'm saying it's playable, and I'm going to try to make the deck happen, and it could be something fun and very competitive. So I wouldn't rule this card out, but
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
Probably not the hot garbage. I think it's too much work for the effect. I feel like there's got to be something better we can do in 3-4 mana, because you need at least 4 mana and probably 5 to play this. And I don't think it's strictly better than Whirler Rogue in that way, but you're right. There could be something going on.
So the next card, Oath of Jace, 2 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards and then discard 2 cards. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry X, where X is the number of planeswalkers you control.
I am so big on this card. I want to run this card in Madness decks. I want to run this card in Reanimator decks. See, I see it in all of this weird combo potential. It kind of this twist, all this ridiculous combos that I want to do with Oath of Jace. And if I get the Planeswalker effect later, that's like gravy. So for me, I am excited. I can't wait to put this card in some decks. How about you?
I feel so Infamous Gemini, if you guys know that name, and if that name makes your ears bleed, I apologize. He's a cool guy, and he was talking this card up in control decks, and I completely disagreed with him. I don't think this card fits into control decks at all. I feel like there's way better spells you can be casting. 3 mana sorcery speed draw spells are not something I want to be doing. The second part of the ability, I feel as if is just extra. If you get it, you're lucky. If you get to do that, that's cool, it's gravy, but then again, if you have a Planeswalker on the field in this game, you're pretty much winning the game at the moment. The meta might shift where that's not always the case, but who knows. The one place I do see this card, and if you are a fan of myself over at Tippletown95, just not even ashamed to plug myself there, I have a deck called Omnath Chubb, and it likes to put creatures in the graveyard to cast reanimation spells, and I love this card for that deck, and I couldn't agree more with you about it.
It's for this isn't a control card. This isn't a control card. Maybe it's a Planeswalker, 4-color Planeswalker card, but it's definitely a combo card. Definitely for Reanimator,
for sure.
Madness, shenanigans.
Alright, so the next card we have is Prophet of Disruption. It's 1 blue. For a 1/2 Eldrazi uncommon, devoid, you pay 3 and a colorless, and you draw a card.
I would like to like this card. I wish a 1/2 just did more. It's a 1/2 body is so irrelevant, you know. And obviously they couldn't make it like 1/3 or 1/4 for 1 mana. That would be ridiculous. But even if it was like 1/4 for 2 mana, I think it would be better. But no, I can't get into this card too much. There's not a lot of good card drawing in duels, so that's a thing. Some people probably play this, but I can't see myself making room for it.
See, I see this card and think of hot garbage. So
there you go.
Next one.
That's another word, hot garbage.
So we have Rolling Waters. A 5 colorless, 2 blue, 7 mana sorcery uncommon. Return up to 2 target creatures your opponent controls to their owner's hand. Target player draws 2 cards. I'm gonna say it, hot garbage.
Whereas Prophet of Distortion was too small and too cheap, and didn't have enough going on for your card draw, this is too expensive. I think some people are going to try to play it in ramp, but I think that's not quite what you want. There might be some interesting things you can do with it in kind of a theme deck, but as far as trying to be any kind of competitive or get anything right, just leave this card out. Leave it alone. It's not really worth it. It's too much for what you get. I promise you.
Yep, agree. So the next card, Slip Through Space, 1 blue, sorcery, devoid, target creature can't be blocked this turn, draw a card. It's a common. I assume you think this card is hot garbage or slightly mediocre. I would assume that's
what you're assuming? Nah, I think this card actually slots in reasonably well in the prowess deck that did need a little bit of kick to it. We just didn't have a lot of great ways to activate prowess, but I think you can turn this, along with the buddies of Majoring Bully and Abbot of Carol Keep and Storm Chaser Mage, into something legit, and I'm looking forward to trying that. So I'm actually a very niche role player that is normally hot garbage. Please do not just put it in your deck for no reason, but put it in that prowess deck and go to town. That's my plan.
I think this card is garbage in any other deck, but I think it is insanely good in the prowess deck. This is what I was talking about. You want to cast Storm Chaser Mages, Abbot of Carol Keeps, Majoring Bullies, Jawar Isle Avenger, Thinganice we'll talk about later. Like, it gets pretty gross. Things get real gross with these 1-mana cards that draw cards and activate Surge. And it also makes a creature unblockable, which is extremely relevant when you're playing an aggro deck. So, next card. Swept Away. 2 and a blue, instant speed, common. Return target creature to its owner's hand. If that creature is attacking you, you may put it on the top of its owner's library. Garbage.
Garbage.
Alright. Thought Harvester. 3 and a blue for a 2/4 Eldrazi uncommon. Devoid, flying. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, target opponent exiles the top card of his or her library. Garbage.
Garbage. Don't do it, guys. Just don't do it.
Alright, Umara Entangler. Blue colorless. 2/1 Merfolk Rogue Ally. Common prowess.
I don't think it's better than Majoring Bully, so I don't think it takes that spot. Maybe it's a 1 or 2 of in that prowess deck, but like 1 toughness is a big problem. It means it's going to be that much harder to get it over the things that you need to get over. Now that said, you have the Slip Through Space, so maybe that's not a big deal. I don't think this will be like a 4 of auto include though. What do you think?
See, I think this card gets a lot better because Twin Bolt will no longer become a staple in the game in like the red decks. Like the red deck's gonna die, like the mono red deck's gonna die off for quite some time. I think the blue red aggro deck is what's gonna pick up and get more popular. And I feel like a creature having 1 toughness isn't as bad as it was because you have strictly better removal spells. A lot of people are gonna go away from their Twin Bolts and not put them in their deck, and they're not gonna worry about it. Like they're not gonna put Twin Bolt back in their deck just because they're losing to an Umara Tangler. You know what I mean? So I feel like this card's better now than what it would have been had we gotten it when we should have. But
So
I think it's all right. It's mediocre. It might not be better than Majoring Bully. That's what playtesting I would have to assume you'd have to do to make sure. I don't know. I feel like it could see play though in the blue-red prowess deck.
Agreed. I can agree with that.
So the next card, Unity of Purpose, 3 and a blue, instant speed, uncommon, support 2, untap each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter. Garbage.
Garbage.
Alright. Bearer of Silence. Black, colorless, for a 2/1 Eldrazi rare. It has Devoid. It says when you cast Bearer of Silence, you can pay 1 and a colorless, and if you do, target opponent sacrifices a creature. It also has flying, and it cannot block.
This card is good. It's but it's a lot like a gold card. The getting the colorless mana isn't really a free it's not like a free splash. It actually takes some work, and you have to have a good amount of sources. So this is either in a black colorless deck or it's in sort of like a 3-color deck. But it's a really good card, and it's It's basically like a Fleshbag Marauder, but you get to keep the body. It is a 2-for-1. It is a flying way to pressure things. It's kind of a mix between aggro and control, so I'm not sure exactly where it fits, but it is a worthy card to look at if you're already getting into the Eldrazi theme. I don't think it's worth trying to make the colorless mana work if you're trying to stay out of the Eldrazi theme. That's my opinion.
Alright, so I'm going to lay down the harsh beats. I think this card is almost trash. And the reason I say that is when I see this card, I completely 100% see an aggro creature. I see it going into the black-red Eldrazi aggro deck with Duststalker. You have the Forerunner of Slaughter. You have your 3-mana, 3/2 Wasteland Strangler, and you play that kind of deck. I just don't see that deck being competitive enough. This
I
card
agree with
is
that.
good. This card could also just be played in like the black-white control deck. I originally had thought, oh, this is a strict upgrade to Fleshbag Marauder against the black-white control deck because you can kill Ulamog with this, but now we know we have Anguish Stone Making and Declaration Stone, I feel like this card is just not needed anymore, and Fleshbag Marauder has gotten significantly worse as people have adapted to that card, and Fleshbag Marauder is barely playable, and this card's not much better than it. It is better, and it's better for aggro decks, but I just don't see the aggro deck being competitive enough, so this card will see play, but I don't think it's, like, and this card is very good, it's just the deck that it goes into isn't good enough, in my opinion.
There you go. Yeah, I can agree with that look on the Rakdos Devoid. Also, to address the chat really quick of they're arguing why which is better, this or Fleshbag. In a lot of cases, this is better because you get to keep the body. You know, Fleshbag you have to sacrifice a creature, and usually you sacrifice Fleshbag itself. This one you get to keep the body.
Yeah.
You don't have to sacrifice. They do.
Look at it this way. When you pass Fleshbag Marauder, you're paying 3 mana to make them sacrifice a creature, and you might get to keep your 3/1 out of it. When you play this card, you're paying. Imagine you're paying 3 mana to do the same thing, except you're paying an additional 1 mana to get a 2/1 flyer out of the deal, which is really sweet.
Yep.
Like
there
getting a 2/1 flyer for 1 mana is pretty sweet. And the fact that it's an Eldrazi is pretty synergetic. There's ways that you can synergize with that kind of thing. So I like the card. But what I said about it makes me not want to play it all as much. Alright, so the next card we have is Drana's Chosen. 3 and a black for a 2/2 Vampire Shaman ally. Rare. It has Cohort. Tap it, tap an untapped ally you control, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. Hot garbage.
This may be one of the better Cohort cards, and it's still garbage.
Yep. Alright. Next card, Essence Depleter. 2 and a black for a 2/3 Eldrazi uncommon. It has Devoid, 1 and a colorless. Target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
This one's this is an interesting one.
This is a card that I like to consider that if this card had come out when Duels came out, when you just had Magic Origins, the card would have seen play, but I don't think it's good enough anymore to see any more play.
Agreed. In the last card set, just having this in there as a way to gain life and have some reach would have gone into a lot of decks. Now, I think that you're just going to have higher expectations for your third turn than we've had in a long time in Duels, and I don't think this is going to be a worthy use of it, which is too bad, really. If it had been one set sooner, if it had been Battle for Zendikar, it would have actually been an interesting card in several decks.
Alright, so the next card, Grasp of Darkness, black, instant speed, uncommon. Target creature gets -4/-4 until end of turn. This card is 100% unplayable. Don't play it. Card's bad. Card will never see any play ever.
I'm gonna have to take the other side. You want to do a pie bet?
No, I'm 100% kidding.
Yeah, totally
I'm
kidding.
100% kidding.
Totally
This
kidding.
card's insane.
This card is fantastic, but I will
This is-
say this: I've been practicing a bit with this card already, and the double black is not a free roll. You have to really invest in this game to make sure you have double color when you need it, especially early when this card's important.
I agree. I think this is when we talked earlier before we decided to do this, when we were just actually doing this exact thing without recording it. We were just talking about them. I think Grasp of Darkness is really, really good in the black-white control deck, and this is why I think the black-white control deck would be probably the best black-white, like the best control shell you can build. I think this card's 100% unplayable in like an Esper list because of the mana.
Yes.
The mana cost is just too painful. But Grasp of Darkness is black, and you give a creature -4/-4. So this card is just going to kill the Eldrazi Menace downright. It kills Matter Shaper, Mimic, it kills Thought-Knot Seer. The card is good, the card will see lots of play, and it's one of those cards that's just very solid, very strong. Yes.
I'm looking to run it in an Eldrazi black deck is kind of my first thought to try out. So that's kind of on my list of things to do. It is very obviously the black mana is important, but this card, I mean, when you hit an Archangel Avacyn with this, you're going to feel like the coolest guy in town, or gal, if there are any gals out there dueling. All right, so there you go.
Next card, Havoc Sower, 3 and a black for a 3/3 Eldrazi Drone, duels uncommon, which means that this one will be just given to you. Devoid for 1 and a colorless, Havoc Sower gets +2/+1 until end of turn, and there's a reason that this card will just be given to you, because it's garbage.
Garbage. Yes.
Garbage.
I don't like my hill giants.
Next
I don't care what else they say.
Next card, Kalidas, Trader of Gets. 2 colorless, black, legendary creature, vampire warrior, mythic, rare. It's a 3/4 creature with lifelink. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card and put a 2/2 zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Then you can pay 2 and a black, sacrifice another vampire or zombie, and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Kalidas, Trader of Get. What are your thoughts?
This card is bananas. Like, this card is amazing. It is one of the reasons.
This card is BANANAS.
It is BANANAS. This shit is bananas. I love this card. I really want to do it with Radiant Flames rather badly, but I don't think that's necessarily the right home. I think it does make that black-white deck that you've been already talking about a lot more playable, a lot more interesting. I think that's the right home, but I'm probably going to be messing around trying to get it to go off with Radiant Flames just because that sounds beautiful to me.
I am such a fan of this card, and it just further makes the black-white control shell look so appealing. And it makes me like, it's going to be one of the first decks I build whenever the set comes out. So, like, I feel like this card is super strong. It's going to be very, very good. It's also relevant that you can play this card in other decks. It exiles cards when they die. So you can build a black-blue processor deck with this guy in it, and that will generate some value for you.
Yeah. Definitely. Shortlist for Kalidas, guys. You got to play with this card.
So next card is... One second. Oh no. Next card is Kozilek's... Breaker of Armies! Alright. Kozilek's Shrieker, 2 and a black, 3/2, Devoid Uncommon, Eldrazi Drone, pay a colorless, it gets +1/+0, and Menace until end of turn. Garbage.
Yep. Another card I did have a hope for once, not now that I've seen more of the cards from Shadows. Just no.
It's game over.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Translator. 5 mana for a 3/5 common. Devoid. Pay a life. Add a colorless to your mana pool. Activate this ability once each turn. Garbage.
Garbage.
Next card. Malakir Soul Slayer. Whatever. 5 mana for a 4/4. Vampire Shaman ally, uncommon, cohort. Tap an untapped ally you control, draw a card.
Wait, you had me at cohort. Moving on. But seriously, do you have anything else for this guy? Nope. Okay, moving on.
This is probably the best cohort creature. It's probably better than the one that makes 2/2s because it draws cards. And I like drawing cards, and it's a solid body on a this is you will play against this card in the ally hard mode deck.
Yep.
On AI.
Totally.
Alright. Oblivion Strike. 3 and a black. Sorcery. Devoid. Exile. Target creature. Common.
This is a card that people are psyched about. It is the closest thing to like an old school just kill that thing, don't worry about that thing no more that we've had in a while. It's in black, so it's in the right color, a color that needs these types of effects to be relevant. So I think this will get play. I do think there are better removal coming down the pike, unfortunately. If this were in the last set once again, it would be much more important than it really is. But I'm still, it's good to have, you know, I'm not complaining.
You basically said it all. When I first saw this card months ago, I said, oh wow, that'll just be a 4 of in like a control shell because it just does what you want it to do. But now that I've seen the removal we're getting, I think this card's unplayable. Because you have Grasp of Darkness, Declaration in Stone, and you have Anguish Unmaking coming up. And the original idea was, oh, this kills Ulamog, so you don't have to worry about Ulamog anymore. But so does Declaration in Stone and Anguish Unmaking, so I just don't see a need for a sorcery speed 4-mana removal spell anymore. Sadly.
Yep, time has come and gone. But I think it'll still get play in a few decks where otherwise, they didn't have any options.
Reaver Drone, 1 black for a 2/1, devoid, uncommon. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life unless you control another colorless creature.
Hold on, I gotta block
You there?
something. Yeah, sorry. Reaver Drone is maybe in the mono black aggressive deck. It's basically a 2/1 without drawback. It has one, but it's not a big deal. But I think a real niche player that generally you should avoid. Generally avoid this kind of card.
Yeah, there could be a fun mono black aggro deck, or the red black Eldrazi deck I was talking about. That'll be fun and it'll be competitive. I just don't think overall it'll be good enough.
Yep.
Sifter of Skulls, 3 and a black for a 4/3 devoid Eldrazi rare. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield. It has sacrifice this creature, add 1 colorless to your mana pool.
This card, initially, I had a hard time pinning down how good or bad it would be in like an aristocrat strategy, and I played some with it, and it is junk. Just don't.
This card
there's
is
so
garbage.
much. There are just such better things you can do with your time and your mana now. It's
this
not
card
there, you
is
guys.
bad.
Don't be fooled. It really isn't. It isn't a card you should spend a lot of time on.
I was hoping you would say it was good so I could just attack.
Oh yeah, so you could just pitbull me. No, I was you can if you want to say I was dumb enough to play test with it to make sure, but I found out very quickly.
I play tested with this card in standard. Okay, you're not as bad off as me.
Ah, okay. Well, hallelujah.
As a guy that didn't want to buy collected companies, I tried to find an easier route, and it didn't work. All right, Sky Scourer. 2 mana, 1 and a black for 1/2 devoid Eldrazi drone flying. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Garbage.
Yeah,
Maybe
this isn't
playable
good.
in the black aggro deck. Maybe. Probably
I don't think
not. But
I don't think even there, because there's not like a way to make like 2 tokens. There's not like a Dragon Fodder Foundry Street Denizen combo with this. I think it's just an underpowered play all the way around, even in that deck.
All right. The next card, Slaughter Drone, 2 mana for a 2/2, devoid common. Pay a colorless, it gets Death Touch until end of turn.
If you absolutely have to have a grizzly bear in your life, you can go with this one. But I don't generally recommend grizzly bears. I think you can do better. But maybe you need it.
If you are not like me in Covert and play this game every day and can afford all of the cards when it comes out, this is a fine card to play for a little while until you get your collection.
Yep.
Tar Snare, 2 and a black, instant speed common. Target creature gets -3/-2 until end of turn. I'll hit it off with this card. I thought this card was gonna be super sweet, but now that I've seen all the cards and we've seen all the cards in Shadows of Innistrad, this card's 100% unplayable garbage.
Oh yeah. It was already, even without that, it was competing with a few other weird conditional removals, which at least it had a general effect. But now you have Grasp of Darkness, so
Yeah, we've come a long way since
Just discard
Reef
that. Yeah, Reeve Soul is already like a lost thing. You have Grasp of Darkness now. Have some standards, guys. Don't play with any more junk like this unless of course you're unlocking cards.
Untamed Hunger. 3 mana, enchant creature gets +2/+1 and has menace. Garbage.
Yep, not an aura that, has any good... There's just nothing to it. Garbage.
Neither is Nimbus Wings. Stop playing Nimbus Wings. Alright, anyway. Vampire Envoy. 3 mana for a 1/4 flyer. Whenever a Vampire Envoy becomes tapped, you gain a life. It's an ally, and it's garbage.
It's not great. It's not even good, but I don't know. There's something to it that's different. Maybe it's the big butt, the flying. It's kind of like it's a wall. It's an ally. So maybe this gets a home in a few like kind of fringy mess around decks, but I mean this isn't where you want to be looking.
If the meta gets so warped that you have to block Willer Rogue tokens, this card will get the job done.
There you go. It can do that, kind of, and gain you some life when it turns sideways.
Visions of Brutality. Black colorless, enchantment aura, uncommon, devoid, enchant creature can't block. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, its controller loses that much life.
And you want my thoughts?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I need to... this is a card I'm trying to actually... when I scenario this, and it might be biased, but like when I'm in my head scenarioing what this card does in a game, like a typical game nowadays, it doesn't look bad at all. It actually looks really useful. So this is something I do need to take out, test, and check the limitations on, because I envision a lot of situations where I do want to play this card, and I'm curious what your take is on it. Oh, don't tell me I lost you. I bet he... Oh.
My controller. So...
We saved it. We saved it. We got it.
Okay, so... This is the card that I think makes like your mono black aggro decks competitive enough to be playable.
There you go.
This is like the card you want to do. Like you just go, like you're just playing your aggressive creatures. You're playing your Reaver Drones, your Forerunner of Slaughters, your Bearer of Silence that kill their extra creatures. You play your Duststalker.
Yeah, opponent has a 6/6 Woodland Wanderer though, right? Brick wall, right?
And you just you just visions that motherfucker, and it can't block. And whenever it attacks, they get drained for 6. So I think this is a card that you play in your mono black or your red black aggro decks, and it's probably good enough. I wouldn't be surprised to see this card as a 3-of in like aggro shells.
Really sure what I'm gonna get with. I'm really not sure what I'm gonna get with this card.
It could be hot steaming garbage.
It could be.
It could be bad. But I'd like to think that it's playable.
All right. Yeah, let's agree. Check out Visions of Brutality, guys. That's one to take for a spin.
Witness the End. Sweet name. 3 in a black, sorcery speed, common, devoid. Target opponent exiles 2 cards from his or her hand and loses 2 life.
If it were 1 mana less, it would be broken. Since it's 1 mana more and it has Devoid Synergy, this might go into some decks. This is also a card, if you ever have sideboards or if ramp is as dominant as it is now, could really make the cut in your black decks to combat ramp, because it is the kind of effect that ramp hates, with a little bit of reach tacked on. I don't think it's good, but I think it's fringy, It's just kind of out there. It's an option. It's probably not a great option, but it's there.
Like you said basically what I was gonna say. If there was ever sideboards, this card would be fine. It would be played just to get the certain decks. You would just play it. But this card's very mediocre, very subpar. Probably won't see any play, but I could see the players that don't have their full collections playing this card. And yeah.
Myers Malice just got upgraded, so there you go.
Yeah. Next card, Zulaport Chain Mage. 4 mana for a 4/2. Human Shaman ally common. Cohort.
Garbage.
Tap an untapped
Garbage.
ally.
Garbage.
Target opponent loses 2 life. Alright, next card. A Flame Seeker. 2 and a black. It's a 1/2. It's a Human Shaman ally. It has Cohort.
Ah,
Tap an untapped
moving
ally.
on. Moving on.
Alright, Boulder Salvo. 5 mana, 4 and a red. Common, sorcery speed. It's a duals common, so this card will be just given to you. Its surge is 1 and a red, and it deals 4 damage to target creature.
I can't see this really being worth it. Maybe it's a one of in a hyper aggressive red deck that probably doesn't exist anymore. And no, it's not for me. I don't see this as a card thing. Hold on though. I'm gonna pause you really quick. I gotta pause you really quick. I gotta answer the chat really quick. So we got some questions about how I got Peepy to come through and chat. It's because of a recent update. So you guys should all be able to do it. Check out it's our magical best friend power, but also the recent Xbox update. You should now have an option in settings to broadcast your chat, and if everybody who's in your party selects that they're also broadcasting, then people can hear them. So okay, do your thing. Hit us.
Hold on. I gotta do another shameless plug. If you guys aren't following me, please follow me at Tibbletown95. Alright. Anyway, so Boulder Salvo. Originally I thought was going to be playable and that you could play it in the game, but again, when we saw the cards from Shadows over Innistrad, we saw Lightning Axe, and Lightning Axe is infinitely better than Boulder Salvo and has synergy with all of your Madness cards, so I think this card is unplayable.
Amen.
Next card. Brute Strength. 1 in a red, instant speed, target creature gets +3/+1 and gains trample into end of turn. This is a card for your blue-red prowess deck. That's about it.
I don't know if it takes a spot from Titan Strength. I mean, the 2 mana is twice as much as 1, and I know that sounds really obvious, but it bears repeating here. But I do think that there's a home for it. Maybe it goes in as a 1 or a 2 of. I don't know that it takes a spot from Titan Strength, though. That's my thing with it.
I'm thinking it's a 2 of.
Yep, I can get with that.
Alright, next card. Chandra Flamecaller. 4 red, mythic planeswalker. Enters the battlefield with 4 loyalty. The +1 is you put 2 3/1 elemental creature tokens with haste onto the battlefield. You exile them at the beginning of your end step. 0 mana, discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards +1, and then -X. Chandra deals X damage to each creature. 100% unplayable. There's no way this card will see play. Nope, don't like it.
Guys, if your deck is red and you're not obsessed with casting the smallest possible goblins, this is your new Overlord right here. This is your new Avatar. This is your new BFF. This card, I've said it before, but I think it bears repeating.
Insane.
I can't think of a way to put it better than this. If you remember playing 2015, every time the opponent had 2 mountains on going into turn 6, you were like, anything but Inferno Titan. Please don't have Inferno Titan. It's a 1 of. What are the odds that they have Inferno Titan, right? Well, this is the Inferno Titan for this format, and you're going to be begging, please don't have Chandra every time they hit that 6th land drop. This card is nuts. This card goes right into whatever your kind of big or mid-game red strategy is. It's even a finisher for burn decks. Just, guys, get behind this girl. She is on fire! All right, I'm done.
Alright, next card, Cinder Helion. 4 in a red, 4/4 trample. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target opponent. So, this card is obviously not good, but I have to give it homage, because in Limited, this card was insane. This is the card for the players that aren't like us, that can't afford all of the cards when they come out. So if they open this and they don't have enough cards to play, this is a fine card that you can put in your deck.
Yeah, it's but it's an okay It's not. It didn't turn my stomach like another cohort card would.
Yeah, if you have nothing better, this card is fine.
Yep.
So Devouring the Flames is our next card. It's a sorcery uncommon for 2 and a red. As an additional cost to cast Devouring Flames, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Devouring Flame deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker.
Interesting, and I do think you might be able to get a 1 or 2 of in there to get some. The targeting planeswalker is kind of a big deal, right? Especially for a red deck. You don't really want to stop beating face or burning face to get rid of a planeswalker. So I think this has a home, 1 or 2 of. I mean, you only get 3, so maybe it's even a 3 of if there's that many planeswalkers in the format. This is a fine card. I don't see. I mean, I don't know. Go ahead.
I'll be the latter and say this card is bad.
Okay.
I am a player that doesn't like losing value when I cast cards, and the fact that I have to return a land to my hand makes me want to vomit a little bit. I mean, it deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. This is another card that, if we had gotten Oath of the Gatewatch on time, would have been good, would have seen play, would have been fine, but now we have a Lightning Axe, and we don't need this card anymore. Like, Lightning Axe does everything we want Lightning Axe to do. Lightning Axe is 1 mana, deal 5 to a creature, and I don't feel like you need to be able to point this red damage at a planeswalker, because you have cards that do that already. You're the aggressive player already, so you'll have a board state whenever their planeswalker comes down. So I don't think Devouring Flames is that big of a deal.
The kind of thing
the
thing I keep coming back to is the 6, right? So 6 gets Ob Nixilis and Sorin potentially, and Chandra like right off the board. Nahiri if you care. So I mean that's one of the things. It is one of the better rates to pay 3 mana and get 6 damage, and that's kind of why I stick with it.
Alright, Eldrazi Aggressor, 2 and a red for a 2/3 Eldrazi drone, devoid. Eldrazi Aggressor has haste as long as you control another Eldrazi creature. Garbage.
Garbage. We need a stamp. I need a stamp I can apply. The garbage stamp. Bong! Bong bong! Law and Order garbage.
Eldrazi Obligator, 2 in a red, devoid rare Eldrazi. It's a 3/1. When you cast Eldrazi Obligator, you can pay 1 and a colorless. If you do, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap that creature, and it gains haste until end of turn. Eldrazi Obligator has haste. I'm going to take the front on this card. To all of you who play Act of Treason and Treacherous Instincts, this card is the only playable version of that effect in the game. The only playable one. When you play this card, it'll be justified. But when you play Act of Treason, there's no justification for you to be playing Act of Treason. This card is good. We'll see play. Card's great. What are your thoughts?
A lot of what I was gonna say. So I was typing up a message to my opponent that I've got right here, and then I'm gonna say 2 things, and then I'm gonna go off on this card. Just chatting about. Let's see. Obviously this card makes having an Act of Treason effect in your deck not only reasonable, but definitely a worthy endeavor. I think this card's going to matter a lot. I think this card is great in a lot of ways. I like, imagine it in the deck I'm playing right now. I'm playing Jund Aristocrats right now. I'm splashing red for like 2 Acts of Treason and 2 Chandra's Ignition, and that it. Put a body on that, something I could sacrifice for where Act of Treason is a dead card, and it's very legit. It also just always puts a bit of a hesitation in a ramp deck, and you want that. You always want ramp to have in the back of their head, what can go wrong if I just tap out and cast something awesome right now. You want to be able to punish them for it. This card does it. This card is a legit rare that should be in a lot of your red decks, especially the red Eldrazi decks that I think will be a good shell.
Yeah, it's not a card to scoff at. So the next card, Embodiment of Fury, 3 in a red for a 4/3 trample. Land creatures you control have trample. It's an uncommon. Landfall, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target land you control become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste until end of turn and still land. This card is garbage.
Yeah, This cycle with a few of the embodiments doesn't do it for me. I don't think it's good. I'm not going to play it. I'm going to move right on. Now, I'm sure that there's a Land Awakened theme deck, and I think it's better now without Moss, but I'm still not going to put the work into it. I'll leave that to Nighthawk and Mega Beast, the super brewers out there. You guys, if you guys turn this into a super deck, I'll applaud you. It's not going to be something I tackle, so have at it.
This card falls into my, you will play against this on the hard mode AI.
There you go. Hard mode AI.
Next card, Expedite. 1 red mana, instant speed, common. Target creature you control gains haste until end of turn, draw a card. Perfect for your blue-red prowess deck.
There you go. It's the other half of the slips through space where we finally have 1 mana cantrips that do something that's not totally embarrassing. I can't wait to expedite my Jace and flip it when the opponent's tapped out so that Jace doesn't just eat removal like he does now. I also can't wait to use it with Abbot of Carol Keep for a quick smash to the face. I think this is probably better than Bloodlust in Prowess. I don't think you'll see much of that card now. And this card's cool. I'm really happy it's here.
I think the mono red decks are going to shift into a blue-red prowess aggro deck. I honestly do, and I think this card is perfect for that deck. And I'm excited to play it. This will probably be the second deck I build. I have to build my love child, that's Jeskai, but once I do that, I will build this deck like immediately after. So the next card is Fall of the Titans. Red XX. It has instant speed, it's instant speed rare. It deals X damage to trigger. It's red XX, instant speed. Fall of the Titans deals X damage to each of up to 2 target creatures and/or players, and it has Surge for a red and an X.
Interesting. So this one is hard to tell. It's probably worse than I'm sure it's worse than Avacyn's Judgment, and I don't know that's better than Rolling Thunder. This is one I'd have to play with, and I'm not sure how good it is. As far as figuring out what the right red X spell for your deck is, that's going to be really interesting in this format. I mean, there's definitely still a place for Ravaging Blaze. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see where this ends up. I don't have a set position.
So I have a clear thought process on this card. I think this card is not going to see a lot of play at all. But, dear God, do I have to give a shout-out, again, to the unbeatables of the world and the infamous crew of how good this card's going to be in Two-Headed Giant.
Two-Headed Giant.
It's going to be disgusting. Like, you're just going to be playing, like, one of your boys is going to be playing Crush of the Tentacles, and the other one's going to be like, bruh, I got the Fall of the Titans. And you're going to go ham. You're just going to be playing blue-red. You have your Chandra's Ignitions, your Fall of the Titans, your Crush of the Tentacles, your gross magic cards that do stupid things in Two-Headed Giant. And it's going to be real cool, and players going to be like, I'm the coolest, look what I just did. And it'll see play there, and it'll be absurdly good in there. It'll be probably one of the best rares for Two-Headed Giant.
There you go. So, 2HG fans rejoice.
Alright. The next card in... Immobilizer Eldrazi, red and a colorless for a 2/1 devoid. Uncommon for 2 and a colorless. Each creature with toughness greater than its power can't block this creature. This card's garbage.
Good. Like immobilized my mouth. I can't say that word. So yeah,
I know,
garbage.
So
Moving on. Immobilize my creativity.
Yeah. Kazul's Toll Collector, 2 in a red, 3/2. Ogre Warrior, uncommon, 0 mana, attach target equipment you control to Kazul's Toll Collector. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. This card would be sweet if there was a good artifact in the game, and even if there was, it wouldn't be that good of a deck. It'd just be fun. I would love to see like how Mega Beast took a completely horrific enchantment. What was that enchantment called? Something. What was it called? That 5-man enchantment that converges for whatever.
Oh, Prism Array.
Mega Beast. Prism Array. Yeah, I was about to say Mega Beast knows that card. Like this is a card that like I would like to see Mega Beast do some stupid shenanigans with it. I don't think it's good, but it's something I'm not going to touch. but I hope someone out there just proves me wrong or does something dumb with this card. Bonesaw's ready. Let's go.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess
card.
so, man. If only the equipment we had was worth 0 mana. I don't know if there's equipment right now in the game I would play that costs 0 mana. It's that bad. Like, we
Yeah,
just have the
like,
worst equipment available.
Yeah, the equipment in this game are garbage. This card isn't good by itself. Therefore, you're having to play garbage equipments and a mediocre creature in your deck just to get this effect out of it. It's just like so bad.
So bad.
All right.
Don't do it. Don't do it,
So the
guys.
next card, Kozilek's Return. 2 in a red, instant speed, mythic rare, devoid. Kozilek's Return deals 2 damage to each creature. Whenever you cast an Eldrazi creature spell with converted mana cost 7 or greater, you may exile Kozilek's Return from your graveyard. If you do, Kozilek's Return deals 5 damage to each creature. I don't know. I don't see this. I don't see this card ever hitting playability at all.
Yeah, this card is not really going to get there because there aren't enough ways to trigger it, I don't think. No, I'm kidding.
Like,
Are you
here's
kidding?
the
Why
thing,
wouldn't
like,
you
I
run
just-
this card?
Well, here's the thing. You wouldn't run it because you're going to get Acid Mossed, and then you won't be able to cast... Oh, wait. Acid Moss is leaving.
Yeah, that's right.
This card's insane. Like,
yeah.
this is up there with Eldrazi Displacer on. Why the hell did they give us this card? Like, this card's bonkers gross.
Yep. Card is very interesting. Obviously, 3 toughness is going to be a break point now. You're really going to want creatures that have 3 toughness because of Kozilek's Return and already because of Radiant Flames, Fiery Impulse. This card is, as a mythic, it's unreliable, but as a mythic, when you get nailed with it, like at instant speed, you're going to feel really bad. And it does put a thorn in the side of Whirler Rogue, which, you know, that matters. Because them Thopters, they can be a pain. So yeah, not much else to say about that. Pretty legit
Card's
card.
real good.
Card real
put it
good.
in your red decks. Put it in your ramp decks.
Play that card. Play
Hulk
that card,
smash.
you guys. So good.
Oops, I win games. Mauve Kozilek, 3 in a red for 2/5 devoid. Pay colorless. Mauve Kozilek gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Garbage.
Yep, pass. Not for me. Maw of
Oath of
horrible
Chandra.
Kozilek cards. Oath of Chandra.
Oath of Chandra, 1 in a red, legendary enchantment, rare. When Oath of Chandra enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target creature an opponent controls. At the beginning of each end step, if a planeswalker something enters the battlefield this turn, Oath of Chandra deals 2 damage to each opponent. It's under your control. This card is, like, you just have to ignore, with all the oaths, you have to ignore, like, the second part of the text, and you have to evaluate the card for what it does when it enters the battlefield. And I think Oath of Chandra is the best one for this game, and I don't know if it is anymore, but the whole aspect of the Oath, like, Oath Planeswalker deck, where you just play 4 color Planeswalkers and you play all the Oaths, I think the playability of that deck actually comes down to how good Oath of Chandra will be, and I just don't know if it'll be, like, playable or not. I'm a little worried.
Yeah, it depends completely. This card's power level depends on what it is killing. You know, if there are relevant creatures, preferably at 2, 3, or 4 mana with 3 toughness, that you can just knock off with this thing while already executing a strategy, that makes the card good. If it's sitting there and your opponent's ramping like crazy, it's probably not going to do much. It's not like you want to just kill a Jotty with it, although some decks may, but I mean, that's not a great trade. So, it's going to depend on the rest of the format, honestly. I think I'll come out playing it week 1 and see how it does.
I just know, knowing my luck when I playtest this card, I'm going to kill a Matter Shaper, and they're going to reveal a Matter Shaper off the top of their deck and put it into play. I just know that's going to happen.
Oh, and that's going to be such a tilt, man. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yep. Alright, price into service. 4 in a red, sorcery uncommon, support 2, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. Another unplayable Treacherous Instincts Active Treason card.
Please
but
don't.
it'll see play because people love that deck, and that deck's. I've literally never played a game with that deck because it's bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't
Anyway,
do it, guys.
Next card, Pyromancer's Assault, 3 in a red, enchantment, uncommon for duels, which means it'll just be given to you. Whenever you cast your second spell card this turn, Pyromancer's Assault deals 2 damage to target creature or player. This card is one of those cute build around me cards that I will build around just to see if I can win a game with it. I don't think it's good, but I'm going to see if I can win a game with it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be touching this card. I'm going to let the Brewers handle that. It seems, if it were 1 mana less, I'd be much more willing. I think 4 is just the wrong price in this game, but I would love to be proven wrong, and maybe this one does something for Beast and Nighthawk, you know?
I don't think the card is good, but I just want to try it.
Yeah.
Alright,
Yeah.
Reality Hemorrhage. A red and a colorless, instant speed, common, devoid, Reality Hemorrhage deals 2 damage to target creature or player.
I mean, I give it an eh. Why not just play Twin Bolt? Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
you could.
Nope.
Here's the only thing I see this card being played in is like someone finally decides to build an all burn deck where they just put all the burn spells in their deck. And I think it's just like, cause I think the mono red deck is just dead unless you're playing blue red prowess, and I can see this card being in blue red prowess as like a 1 of or 2 of, maybe. I doubt it. Who knows? I don't know. I guess like you could build like a all burn deck. Like you just play Twin Bolts, Reality Hemorrhages, like
loses to Pulsa Marasa deck.
Just go face. Face is the
face
place.
is the place. It's a face is the place deck. Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, you know, it's fine if you're unlocking cards, but I'm not excited about this.
Spark Mage's Gambit, a red and a colorless, sorcery speed common. Spark Mage's Gambit deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures can't block this turn. Card's not as bad as it looks.
Yeah, this is a bit of an interesting one. The can't block means it might be more effective than Twin Bolt in getting your final damage through, and I think it actually does put up some competition in that slot, and I'm going to be curious to see like who kind of wins. Now again, we have to see if that red deck is still a deck, right? We have to still find out if this makes sense.
I think this is the card. I think this is the card for your blue-red prowess deck. Like, so if you don't have like slip through space, like you just target their 2 guys, trigger prowess. Their 2 guys can't block now. You just get in with your prowess creatures. I think this is one of the cards that fits into that deck to just like push the damage through. I think
you're gonna hate this, Peepy, but you and Beast are on the same page. He pretty much posted the exact same thing around the exact same time. So you guys are agreeing. I don't know if you know that. You may want to change your views quickly. But yeah, we can roll on if you're still with me. If I didn't lose you.
So next card, Zada's Commando. Zada's Commando, red and a colorless for 2/1, Goblin Archer Ally, common, first strike. It has Cohort. You tap an untapped ally you control. It deals 1 damage to target opponent. I will say, this is probably the best Cohort card for duels. It is a 2-mana 2/1 with first strike that can deal damage to the face.
It is a goblin.
If they have blockers. Yeah, if they have blockers. So I think this is actually the best Cohort card in the set for duels.
I agree with you, and whether or not you can actually play this deck at all, I think depends on whether or not just the Twin Bolt and Twin Bolt-ish effects that we've already discussed are already getting added to the format are actually being used. Because if they are, it makes this deck really bad. like hot garbage is what it makes.
Yeah.
If there's like 8 decks running 6 to 8 of the Twin Bolt effect, you just can't play this card. Yeah. It's just no good. It's absolutely
Mono Red's dead.
Yeah.
Baloth Pup, green and colorless for a 3/1. Baloth Pup has trample as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it.
Nope, can't do it. Can't get into
Nope.
that.
Yep. Seems bad.
Seems bad.
Alright, next card, Birthing Hulk. 7 mana, 6 and a green for a 5/4 Eldrazi drone. Duels uncommon, so this card will just be given to you. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 1/1 colorless Eldrazi creature tokens onto the battlefield. They have sacrifice this creature, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. Then you can pay 1 and a colorless and regenerate Birthing Hulk.
I'd love to love it, but the price is wrong, bitch.
This is one of those cards, man, where if we got it when we were supposed to, and Oath of the Gatewatch, it might have been fine. Maybe.
Yep.
But the
Kind
card's
of,
just
it goes
not
down
good.
at 7 and ramps you to 10, right? So it would have been good, but now it ain't.
Alright, next card. Bonds of Morality. Green colorless. Enchantment. When Bonds of Morality enters the battlefield, draw a card. Okay. Pay a green. Creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. See, this is one of those cards where if sideboards ever mattered in this game, this card would be really good in the sideboard. But this card falls with like the Tainted Remedy like aspect of you're never gonna put this in your duels ranked ladder match deck because it's never gonna be useful for you.
I
But
don't
at
know.
least this card
I
is
don't know.
better. This card's better in the sense that it draws you a card. This
Yeah,
card is
so-
almost playable as a one-of.
In ramp, yeah, isn't it strictly better than an Elvish Visionary if ramp mirrors are a thing? I mean, I
No.
think it is. Also, if you're going to do the blue-green ramp deck with Crush of Tentacles and Displacement Wave, you can get a new card every time you play it. Oh, my value meter is going off. My value alarm is happening, dude. I don't know if I can resist that.
Well, next card. Canopy Gorger, 6 mana, 6/5 Vanilla Worm. Best card in set, obviously. Not close.
Obviously. This is a strict upgrade to Crawworm, which was my favorite card in my first starter box of Unlimited in 1990. I think it was 3 or 4.
I a couple of years ago, built a EDH deck that had all commons in it. It was like a new format idea where you play EDH with all commons, and I went and bought an Alpha Crawworm for $4
Wow.
on Star City Games.
I was sitting on a
Yeah,
gold mine. Why'd I ever let that go?
Anyway, so Elemental Uprising. 1 in the green, instant speed. Target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature token with haste until end of turn. It's still a land. It must be blocked this turn if able. Garbage.
Garbage. I mean, it's some people might find an interesting use for it. I would say generally stay away.
Like, it might see, like, in that red-green landfall deck that's not going to be played much anymore. Like, that wasn't played much to begin with. It might be played in that, but I doubt it. Embodiment of Insight, 5 mana, 4/4 Vigilance. Land creatures you control have Vigilance. And then if a landfall triggers and enters the battlefield, you get a land with 3/3 Vigilance until end of turn. Yada yada yada. Mediocre, not playable.
Not something I would pay 5 mana for in green right now, not with our options.
Lead by example. Green colorless, instant speed, common, support 2.
Hold on, I'm going to pause you really quick. We got a question in the chat. Guys, we are in the Oath colors, and we've already gone through whites and blues and blacks. We're going to be going through as much as we can bear to, I'm assuming. So don't worry, Shadows in those colors is yet to come, and we've still got a ways to go. So don't you worry, you haven't missed way too much. Just a few things here and there. All right, roll on, Peepy.
Well, since we paused, I have to do another shameless plug.
This is my punishment.
Town 95 is my Twitch chat. If you guys haven't done so already, I'd really appreciate it if you come over and gave me a follow. Alright. Anyway, next card. Because I'm just ignoring lead by example, because that card, you should lead by example and just never play it.
Good job leading by
All right.
example, Peepy.
Lone Larva, 2 mana, 1 in a green, common, 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land, reveal it, shuffle your library, and put that card on top. Garbage.
Yeah, garbage. Don't do it, guys. Somebody's gonna try to tell me this is a good card. Just don't. Don't even bother.
Someone somewhere. It's good in ramp, dude, I swear. Alright, Nissa's Judgment. 5 mana, sorcery, uncommon, support 2. Choose up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Each creature with a +1/+1 counter on it deals damage equal to its power to that creature. Garbage.
Yeah, it kind of an odd card. My gut also says garbage. Maybe mono green wants this, but I don't. I'm not a mono green guy, so I'm staying out of it.
We got a couple heavy hitters coming up.
All right, cool.
Alright, so we have Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Green, colorless, 3 loyalty, planeswalker, +1, put a 0/1 green plant creature token onto the battlefield. Sweet, protects itself. -2, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Sweet, anthems. -7, you gain X life and you draw X cards, where X is the number of lands you control. So, stupid ultimate that wins you the game. What do you think?
Well, you said sweet twice, and you said stupid ultimate that wins you the game, so I feel like I know where you're coming down, and I love planeswalkers in general. I think a planeswalker that you can cast as a planeswalker, aka not a flipwalker that you have an opportunity to kill, is overpowered so far in this game because we have few ways to interact with it. It requires you to maintain a creature board presence, which makes life really horrible for some decks. But this planeswalker in particular, the right home is my question mark. I don't see exactly where it fits.
See? That's where
I don't think it's that
That's where
smooth.
I want to come in at. That's where
Okay.
that's where I was excited to come in. This makes a completely new archetype.
A completely new archetype here from Peepy.
Okay.
What do we got? What's going on?
It's an archetype that exists in the game, but it sucks. This card, along with
Okay.
a couple of this card plus a couple of other cards that are in this set that we will talk about in a little bit, makes this deck, I think, viable and very good. A green-white mid-range creature deck that's not ramp. It's just like a grindy green-white creature deck. It plays like Nissa, Sylvan Advocates. You just play the best green and white creatures. I think it has some potential to be actually very good. We'll have to wait and see, but I think there's a lot of strong cards that we're getting, and I would love to see that card in this deck. Also, there is room to mention that Nissa could be put in a green-white token or a Naya token strategy. You could try that.
Okay.
So there's a lot of interesting ideas with Nissa that I cannot wait to try.
But you would agree that probably the right home, you don't just throw this in your ramp deck, you don't just throw this in your mono green noise making deck. Yeah, that this is kind of a new animal.
Yeah, this could be put in the green-red ramp deck, but I don't think the green-red ramp deck needs this card.
Okay, fair enough. I can dig that.
Alright, so next card, one card I'm excited for, Oath of Nissa. 1 green mana, legendary enchantment, rare. This is the only oath that you don't give a shit if the other ones are playable or not. When Oath of Nissa enters the battlefield, you look at the top 3 cards in your library. You may reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker card from among them. Put that card into your hand and put the rest of the cards in the bottom of your library in any order. This card is super sweet. I didn't even read the last part because I don't need to. The last part says you may spend mana as though it were.
Or do
one
you?
mana of any color of planeswalker spell. It's irrelevant. Your mana can tap for any color, as long as you're casting a planeswalker.
Yep.
Irrelevant. This card's great. When you evaluate these oaths, you want to look at the top part of the text. This is the best oath. This card is super awesome. We'll see lots of play. We'll be in the ramp decks. We'll be in any literal green deck in this game.
Yeah, this does seem like if you're going to put a forest in, a fair amount of forests in your deck, that you're just going to start with this card. I mean, why wouldn't you play it? Everybody loves a little ponder action, and getting it out of green seems weird, but will probably be fun and fine. And you're going to see this all the darn time.
Yep. Alright, Pulse of Marasa, 2 and a green, instant speed, common. Return target creature or land card from your graveyard to its owner's hand. You gain 6 life. This is a card that I think would have been good if I didn't think that the mono red was dead. Like, mono red's gotten a lot weaker. I think blue-red prowess is good, but this card's just a little mediocre. It's alright, but I don't know if it's good enough.
Dirtle. I mean, this thing is a dirtle machine. But I did some testing with this already in kind of a very dirtily shell, and it was interesting. It was really good in like it was decent. I like the amount of life gain that you can crank out with this thing in a green ramp deck is interesting, but the black-green deck, like getting stuff back from the graveyard, there's a lot of other ways to do that. I don't know. Not as good as I hoped it would be. I thought it would just kind of set up these loops of recurring like certain planeswalkers like Nissa and Liliana over and over and just put you in this inevitable board state, but I don't think it's really there for that. It doesn't quite have that kind of effect on the game. It does often just feel like you're rinsing your hands waiting for something more interesting to happen, and there's so much more power now in these cards that I don't think that's really what you want to spend your time on.
Yep, alright, well, next card, hold on to your butts, because we have
Hold on to your butts.
Ruin in their wake. 1 in a green, sorcery, uncommon, devoid. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it. You may put that card onto the battlefield tapped if you control a land name wastes. Otherwise, put that card in your hand, then shuffle your library. A 2-mana ramp spell. Talk about it.
Yeah, so I was working on a deck. Sup to Hakeem in the chat. I was working on my mono green colorless deck with a lot of wastes, trying to get Walker of the Waste to work, right? To just go off. And I did not put Ruin in their wake in that deck. I thought there was no way we would see that card. I just thought I thought it would never happen. Having that card would have smoothed that deck out so much, and that deck already did so many good things that I feel like this is going to be a big deal if the decks are built right and they're built well, and it's going to be a project I'm going to be tackling right away, is making it work. And I'm looking forward to having this card in the format. It's not broken because the colorless cost, as I've said before, it is not free. It is something that you have to really think about when building your deck. You have to treat it like having another color, and you do that, and life is grand.
Alright, next card, Saddleback Lagak.
What? What? Say what? Saddleback Lagak. Saddleback Lagak. Sounds like something you say in the Old West, man. Saddleback Lagak. Don't go out there. Saddleback.
Yeah, get you some. Alright, anyway. 3 in a green, Lizard, 3/1. When it enters the battlefield, support 2, garbage.
Support 2, garbage.
We talked way too much about that card when we needed to. Alright.
Agreed.
Scion Summoner, 2 in a green, 2/2, Devoid Eldrazi common. When it enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token on the battlefield. So this deck clearly goes into your Aristocrats list as a good card to sacrifice things. I think it's very solid. I mean, you just put it in your Aristocrats deck. It's also a worse version of Eldrazi Sky Spawner. If you try to do the Naya token route, you can play this card.
Peepy Squeeps is the other voice for those of you asking. And yep, this card actually does slot in pretty well. 3 power over 2 bodies and 3 toughness. It's good. It's fine. If there's a deck that is better at just kind of mid-rangey doing awesome stuff like Aristocrats, then this fits in there rather than ramping. It's fine. It's fine. And just like the card that you're about to say that follows it, it's fine in ramp, or not in ramp. It's fine in Aristocrats, but it is not really making Aristocrats. Aristocrats is losing Perilous Mirror, and it's a big deal. Like, you don't want to lose that Perilous Mirror. All right, do your thing. What do you got? What do you got?
I had to get on there real quick to say it.
Oh, you got to plug.
Next card.
Yeah. Hustling,
Next
baby.
card, Seed. Next card, Seed Guardian. 2 green for a 3/4 with reach. Elemental, uncommon. When Seed Guardian dies, put an XX green elemental creature token onto the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard. So this is a sweet card for the Aristocrats decks.
Now, I thought so too. I was actually amazed at how it wasn't a free roll to get double green, which is weird. But you really want to put it out there and also have like a sack outlet or things like Evolutionary Leap or like Mana for Vampiric Rites, and it often ate your whole turn. I was kind of unimpressed when I play tested with it. At the same time, though, you don't have many other options with Reach, and I think Flyers and Evasive Creatures, Storm Chaser Mage is going to be a huge problem. So this card is fine. It still doesn't replace Perilous Mirror. I still think that Aristocrats has taken a step back in power, which is sad considering how many new cards we're getting. But I mean, it's okay. I'm just gonna go there. I'm just gonna say it's all right. You're not breaking nothing.
Next card we have Stalking Drone, a green and a colorless. Colorless, Stalking Drone gets +1/+2 until end of turn. Activate this ability only when you can cast only once each turn. So what are your thoughts?
This is a card that I also did some playing with, and I was playing it in a Simic deck, and I was trying the Eldrazi Splash in the Simic deck, and I never activated the ability. It was always a bear. I was always disappointed with it. I always wished I had Snapping Gnarlid. So I'm saying this isn't good.
Yeah.
And especially now that I see the card that's
either.
next. With the card that's next, it makes this such a waste.
Yeah, next card is a card called Sylvan Advocate. It is a green and a colorless. It's an elf druid ally. It's a 2/3. It's a rare. Has vigilance, and as long as Sylvan Advocate and land creatures you control get +2/+2. So those dual lands are gonna get bigger with Sylvan Advocate, and Sylvan Advocate's gonna get pretty big. This card is one of those cards that I think brings a green-white strategy to the forefront. It makes it playable. Turn 6 playing Woodland Bellower, getting a Sylvan Advocate, paying 6 mana for a 6/5 and a 4/5 is extremely good. Like I'm curious to see what brutal things this card will do.
Yeah. If this card were a 4 of, it would put elves right back in the conversation. If this card were a 4 of, it would add a lot to all kinds of decks, including ramp and green-white. It's kind of a shame that it's not, because now I'm not really going to be satisfied with my 2-drop if it's not Sylvan Advocate. This card is amazing. It scales amazing. Woodland Bellower, like you said, adds to its abilities. And yeah, being able to pump up your 2/2 Death Touch land that we're going to get to into a 4/4, not a bad thing.
I wanted to interrupt you real quick to answer Right Justice in the comments. He says, PB keeps calling the 1 in the mana cost colorless instead of generic. I am not calling that colorless. I'm calling the colorless symbol colorless. 1, it is generic, but it is important to note that generic mana is different from colorless mana. Colorless, you need a land that can produce colorless mana, like Crumbling Vestige, or cards like Westvale Abbey that are way better, that we'll get to later. So I'm not calling it colorless. I'm just calling it what its correct title is, and I'm just ignoring saying 1 generic and 1 colorless. I'm just saying 1 and a colorless. So I hope. Sorry if there's confusion there.
Oh, he's not done. He's not done. He's still going after you. but hey, we got cards. We got cards to talk about.
I said 1. I'm pretty sure I said 1 in the green. Anyway, for the green.
Hey, Right Justice, you go ahead and read the whole set out loud to an audience and never misclick on your vocals, okay?
Yeah, alright. Anyway, so we have Treasury Path Warden, 5 mana for a 5/4 Vigilance Trample Garbage. Next card. Alright.
Ta-da, we did it. Next card.
we have Vile Redeemer, 2 and a green for a 3/3 Devoid Flash. Whenever you cast Vile Redeemer, you may pay 1 colorless mana. If you do, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield for each non-token creature that died this turn under your control. And those creatures have sacrificed this creature, add 1 colorless to your mana pool. This card is sweet for the Aristocrats deck. This is a card that the Aristocrats needs to stay competitive.
I mean, how many times as well did like Tempo just play frickin' Bounding Krasis as a 3/3 to get a clock on, you know? So, I mean, this goes in all kinds of green decks, but in Aristocrats, you recover from a board wipe, you recover from a languish off this, and life gets really pretty.
Yeah, that's where this card will shine. Anyway,
is it that colorless mana to activate? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, that isn't a free roll and not in Aristocrats, but if you have a Scion, you can float the mana and then play it
Yep.
after the board wipe, so keep that in mind.
Next card, Vines of the Recluse. 1 green mana, instant, common. Target creature gets +1/+2 and gains reach until end of turn. Garbage.
Garbage. Go on.
All
Because
right,
what's up
everybody.
next? What's up next? Yeah, hold on. I need a
All
drink.
right.
I need a
Anyway.
drink. I gotta like stretch before I do this. Oh my goodness.
All right.
You guys don't know. You guys don't know what's coming.
Anyway,
Unless you got this open in
up
front
next. Up next we have Reflector Mage. 1 white, 1 and a white and a blue for a 2/3 creature human wizard uncommon. When Reflector Mage enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That creature's owner can't cast spells with that name until their next turn. Talk to me about this card. Just talk about it.
of. Okay. In what universe did they decide that this card was even something they should print, let alone fair? Oh my gosh. If any of you have played or watched Paper Magic, it's sounded like
This
just,
card has dominated.
ugh.
Dominated.
Ugh. I mean, it's
This
like an
card-
echo chamber at every table. Reflector Mage, on a Reflector Mage, reflecting the Reflector Mage. Here's the Reflector Mage. It sounds like a Hearthstone event, okay?
Reflector Mage is the best mana war they've literally ever printed.
And and they stopped kind of printing Mana Wars. They made Mana Wars
Yeah.
like bad for a long time, and then they woke up one day and said, "We're gonna do this. We're gonna give you Reflector Mage." And I mean, first of all, the 2/3, like we said, 3 toughness is a place that both Paper Magic and Duels are moving to, because it dodges
Like I
Kozilek's
said-
Return, it dodges most Radiant Flames, it dodges Fiery Impulse, so it's already a body that's worthy. But just I mean, when you're talking about tempo, there's only 2 types of tempo decks now. Those that have Reflector Mage and the ones that lose to it.
There's 2 types of decks. The ones that play Reflector Mage and the ones that lose to it. Reflector Mage is so oppressive, and it's not even just Reflector Mage. Reflector Mage is great, but dear God, they gave us Eldrazi Displacer. This is like that's the one card I was so worried about. Like, honestly, I'd go as far to say that if I was Hakeem, I would ban Eldrazi Displacer in the Hakumite. I literally would. It's so oppressive. It's so
that's
powerful.
a preemptive ban there. Why don't you remind the people,
It's-
because we're up to like 50 viewers. We started with 8. I think we were at like 10 viewers when we talked about Displacer. Just take it back for
All right.
1 minute off the top of your head. You don't have to read it.
Let's take it back. No, I know what the card does. It's a 2 and a white for a 3/3 rare, and you can pay 2 and a colorless, and you bounce a creature, and then it enters the battlefield tapped. So basically, what you do is you just bounce your Reflector Mage, and then you bring your Reflector Mage back, and then you bounce their guy, and they can't cast it. You just keep doing that. Also, if you're being the aggressor in the matchup, like, that's really good to get back into the game, but if you're being the aggressor in the matchup, you can aggressively bounce their creatures, and because they come back tapped, so you can just aggressively bounce their creatures and get in for damage. And also, it's in the magic colors of blue and white. You literally just play Eldrazi Displacer. If you guys want a tier 1 playable deck the day it comes out, I'm about to give it to you. You have Eldrazi Displacer, Reflector Mage, you have Whirler Rogue, you have Gideon, you have Declaration in Stone. You can slash red and go real deep with Piankir and Nalar, but you don't have to, because you can just keep playing good blue cards. You can play Eldrazi Sky Spawner.
Remember, you're
You
running
just
the
blink.
colorless option, right, to play your Displacer, so you
Yeah.
can run Thought-Knots here.
Yeah, like, you can literally just do infinite shenanigans. They literally should never have given us Eldrazi Displacer. It blows my mind that we got the card, and it blows my mind when we got Reflector Mage. These cards are insane. They're going to see so much play. It's going to be the literal top dog of the format. I promise you now. I promise you, Eldrazi Displacer and Reflector Mage will be the best deck in this game. I don't know what the exact 60 looks like, but I swear, I promise, I would bet my winnings in the next Hakumite if I were to win. I guess I'm being cocky by saying that. I would bet money that it's not the top deck. Like, it's insane. The power level is absurd.
It's also
like,
you can't really play a creature like in a Reflector Mage in a meta where Reflector Mage matters. You can't really play a creature between like 4 and 6 mana converted casting cost that does nothing when it enters the battlefield. You just can't, because I mean, getting that bounce, losing your whole turn, and then just having it sit in your hand, and then casting again, just hoping at no value. That's so epic. It's
like, here's the thing, like. You have like Reflector Mage, right? And it's like it's supposed to keep the Eldrazi decks in check, right? Except you can literally just play colorless Eldrazi, splash blue for 1 card, and you just play Reflector Mage. Like, you literally have your colorless Eldrazi spells. You have your Spatial Contortions, your counter spell that also makes a Scion.
And I don't think that this is a tempo aggro card either. The chat's kind of leaning on tempo. I think this is as much a control card. I mean, you buy 2 turns of no pressure.
You also play it in your control decks, yeah. Like, you play this in literally every deck, but like you can just play like your Mimics, your Reality Smashers, and your Matter Reshapers, because they gave us those too, and we'll be talking about them in a minute. You just play all those cards. You play your Thought-Knot Seers, and then you play your Eldrazi Displacers. You play like Declaration Stones, and then you just splash blue, and you just play Reflector Mage, and now you have a stupid deck. It's insane. It's insane. Anyway.
All right.
Let's move on.
What more can we say? What more can I say? All right.
Next card, Eily Eternal.
Oh no. Did I lose him?
On the ground. All right,
we're back.
We have Eily Eternal Pilgrim. It's a black and a white for a 2. Is that a 2/2 or 2/3?
2/3. 2/3, dude.
It's a 2/3.
It's
legendary
a 2/3.
Creature. Yeah, it's a 2/3. A legendary creature, core cleric, rare, has Death Touch. You can pay 1, sacrifice another creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. You can pay 1, a white and a black. You sacrifice another creature, exile, target non-land permanent, activate this ability if only you have at least 10 more life than your starting life total. This card is pretty sweet. I don't know what it fits into exactly yet, but this card will see play just because it's a solid body for 2 mana. It's good in duels, it'll see play. Who knows where, though?
Yeah, the inside track that you guys will get right here is probably something I'll be busting out. Is one of the first things I'm going to try to do with Aristocrats is Esper Aristocrats, and Eily goes right in there. We already said if you want to add some black to your Donald Trump deck, you can sack walls for 6 life a pop. Pretty high tech.
Don't tell the people the broken deck for the Hakumite, man. That's our private deck making group.
Anyway,
where we break the format. And the walls.
But this card Eily is also still part of the power creep from like 2/2 bears into 2/3 2-drops, and it is a 3 toughness again. I've said a few times. It's happening to standard. It's slowly happening to duels, and it's rare, so it's not that reliable. But it is where you want to be. If you can get to 3 toughness on turns 2 and 3, you're better off than playing anything at 2 toughness. That's just the way it is right now.
I agree. All right, the next card is Cliffhaven Vampire, 2, a black and a white, for a 2/4 Vampire Warrior ally, uncommon, flying. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Interesting card, costs too much mana. It'll be cute, the tribal vampire deck, but won't be good enough.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure that there's a deck that's going to try to make use of this. It does go with Eily in an interesting way of trying to break 30, but I don't think it's really for the hyper competitive.
All right, Weapons Trainer, a red and a white for a 3/2 human soldier ally, uncommon. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 as long as you control an equipment. This card is garbage because equipment are garbage, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, 2 toughness isn't very good. I mean, there is the Anthem effect with Bonesaw. I think that's really novelty. I'm probably pushing it, even imagining that it could be something, and even talking about it. So we'll let it go pretty quick. But it is an ally. It is a decent 2-drop. It does make Boros allies do more than it did before. Maybe a little more respectable, but I wouldn't chase that too far down the rabbit hole if I were you out there.
Then we have Jiraga Auxiliary. It's a 1 green and a white for a 2/3 elf shaman ally, elf soldier ally. So it's an elf. Does that give you the hope for the elf deck? And then you have 4 in a green and white, and it supports 2. This card is bad.
This card is pretty bad. If you're at 6 mana and the best thing you can do with your time is support 2, you're probably doing the magic thing wrong. Yeah, you should probably find a new game. And it's too bad, you know. If this had a support cost of 3, I think it would be very interesting. You know, it would be a real Anthem. You wouldn't have to play into sweepers, but that's not the card we have. So, no, not for me.
We have Mind Melter, a 1, a blue, and a black for a 2/2, devoid Eldrazi uncommon. It can't be blocked, and for 3 and a colorless, target opponent exiles a card from his or her hand. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. This card is bad.
Yeah, pass. It's
Yep.
I really can't come up with it. It's not there. It's just not there. The sorcery speed thing's the killer, and of course they don't want you exiling things like right after the opponent draws them or anything, but the sorcery speed is a death knell.
Yep. Alright, next card we have Jory in Rune Diver, a 1, a blue, and a red. For a 2/3 legendary creature Merfolk Wizard, it's a rare, and whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. The only deck I see this fitting into, I don't see it fitting into control decks because I don't want to tap out on turn 3 in my control deck, but I see this being like the top end curve of your Storm Chaser Mage decks.
There you go. Those decks that just want to go off with a bunch of those cheap spells, the cantrips and the Titan Strengths, and keep your hand fully loaded. Yeah, that's where this card is gonna live, and it's gonna be fine there. I don't know if you even run more than 1. I mean, drawing 2 is like just undid the effect that you were looking for. It does seem like it would be one of the worst
cards in the deck.
Yeah, it will be. It probably won't be much, and it's probably a 1 of, if anything. I mean, seriously, like, if you're drawing a bunch of cards already, those times when you draw 2, it's like you undid the best thing it could possibly do. So, it's not that good,
sure.
It's not that special, but it's a fine 1 of.
Next card we have is Storm Chaser Mage. It's a blue and red for a 1/3 flyer, haste, human wizard, uncommon, with prowess. This card is good. This card will see lots of play. It's going to be a new aggro strategy, a blue-red prowess deck. I guess it's not new, but it's actually playable now. So we've talked a good bit about this card. Do you have anything more to add on to it other than it's super good and you'll see lots of play?
Yeah, just really quick, I want to say this is a card that can kind of shove ramp out of the format. They're going to have a hard time killing it, and if it's really common to see this get thrown down, Titan Strength, brute forced, you know, built up, this will get in for that killing blow before ramp can do what ramp wants to do. And it's one of the cards that gives me hope that there's an aggressive strategy out there that can keep ramp from owning this format like it owned the last one.
The next card is back to the original cycle that we were talking about a minute ago, and it's probably the second best of the 2, of the 5, and when I saw this card I thought of Hakim. It's Void Grafter, it's 1 green and a blue, it's a 2/4, it has Devoid, it's an Eldrazi drone uncommon, it has Flash, and when it enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that might keep Sipment Tempo alive, maybe Bant Tempo, because it's hard to picture a Tempo deck without Reflector Mage, but it is a good card. But seriously, if
this
they
is another card you can bounce with Eldrazi Displacer.
It is another card you can bounce with Eldrazi Displacer. I don't know if the Bant mana base will be good enough to be consistent. You know, that's my concern.
Here's another thing.
And I think that... Oh, go on.
You can bounce this guy with your Eldrazi Displacer to give your Eldrazi Displacer hexproof so it doesn't die.
There you go.
Stupid.
That is ridiculous.
Stupid.
If you have, Magical Christmas Land of white,
I'm gonna try it.
colorless, green, and blue, and it could happen. I think that if this card got printed instead of Reflector Mage, you would see Simic Tempo kind of taking a power leap. But with Reflector Mage, I think now it's almost you have to be in white. I don't think there's a choice, because if you play Simic Tempo and the opponent throws down Reflector Mage on you, you have no tempo. The tempo just ended. It's like the tempo battle,
Yep.
one lost over, you didn't do it, all right? So I think that's a problem, and I think that's why you're not going to... I think that's why Simic Tempo's going to have a hard time. It's going to have to, get some bant going on.
If it's still a deck, this card will definitely be in it, so...
There you
Next
go.
card.
I can definitely agree with that.
Flare Drone, 1 black and a red for a 3/1 Devoid Eldrazi Drone uncommon first striker. Whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, target opponent loses 1 life. So for all you guys that have been with us for the past 40 minutes, you missed our entire discussion on red-black aggro being a deck, and it's the Eldrazi aggro deck where you have Eldrazi Drone, you have Bearer of Silence, Duststalker, you have Freeblade guy, the Forerunner, and now you have Flare Drone. So this card fits right into that deck. It'll be a fine card. You'll play it. It won't be bad. You'll play this, like you'll be able to play Vile Aggregate in that deck because all your cards will be colorless. So it'll be fine. It'll be a deck. It'll be playable. It won't be the best, but it'll be fun and it'll be interesting. So there's another deck idea.
I'm pretty convinced that deck won't be. Yeah, I'm pretty convinced that deck won't be very good. It does kind of now compete with vampires too, so I don't think it'll be played as much as it would have been if Oath were on time. But we can move on from that. In my opinion, it's not really my deck.
It's another one of those cards where if Oath came out when it was supposed to, this deck would have been super good for a while.
Yep.
Would have been a fun deck to play.
Agreed.
All right. Bolthul Null, 4 green and a black for a 4/5 zombie beast uncommon. When Bolthul Null enters the battlefield, return up to 2 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Yuck, don't care.
Word. This is a fun. This is a fun value reanimator card that I won't get mad at people for being excited about because there's a big body attached, but I won't be. I will not be on this. This is not for me.
Next card, Mia and Dean Wilkborn. 2 red and a green legendary creature, elf ally. It's an elf. That's important. 4/4. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and you can pay a red and a green. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Target creature gains trample until end of turn. This card is solid. This card will see play. This card is fine.
I am really curious to try it in Ramp. It hasn't made a dent in Paper Magic, and Duels... Sometimes I feel this is one of those cards where Duels might be the right home for it, and maybe all it ever needed was a good home. So I'm curious to try it. I'm going to have fun with it. It might be wrong, and it might be strictly a fun card, but I'm willing to at least invest some time and find out.
Next card, Relentless Hunter. 1 a red and a green. Human Warrior, uncommon, 3/3. So it's 3-man, 3/3, not too bad. For 1 red and a green, Relentless Hunter gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. Pretty mediocre stats, not the best card in the world. Like it'll be fine if you don't have all the cards and you want to play a deck and like you want to play like a red green aggro deck. Like this card is fine. This is a card that would have been insane when Origins came out. Like if you got this card and you got to play like your red green monster deck that was like huge when Origins came out, this card would have been awesome in it. But this card is so underwhelming in comparison now.
It's pretty hard to believe that like red-green was kind of longing for a 3/3, right? A 3-mana 3/3 not that long ago. But now it's hard to picture what deck that automatically fits in. It's another one of those decks that would have had a home not long ago. Now it seems like there's just much better that can happen at 3 mana, especially in red and green.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I'm not gonna completely rule it out. It might get some time. I'm not there. We may find that aggressive shell that goes with, say, Arlingcord that wants this type of effect on 3. So it's not complete garbage, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. The next card is the best card in the set, hands down. Play 4 copies in every deck you possibly can.
We did it. We did it.
Bone Saw's ready. Like,
We did it.
Bone Saw as a 0 mana
Wait, do we need
artifact.
like Macho Man on this, don't we? Didn't he used to say something?
Obviously.
Like, ooh, the bone saw, dig it, it's your
Yeah.
it'll do what you
I've
need
got
it to
you
do,
for 3
yeah.
minutes. Yeah. 0 mana artifact. Equip creature gets +1/+0 and it equips for 1. The card is really bad, but if you want to get cute and play Surge cards, sure. This also works with your red-white weaponsmith guy, and it gives all your creatures bigger. But the downside is you put 4 Bone Saws in your deck.
And I'm gonna spoil Hakeem's whole plan for the next tournament right now. You can use this with Esperzoa for that penalty-free 4/3.
Esperzoa banned.
Yep,
now.
too good. Just
Esperzoa,
too
no
good.
downside.
So, yep, guys, you did it. Congratulations. Bonesaw, dig
Anyway.
it. Yeah, don't. I wouldn't play it in my duels deck. No, I would not.
Next card. Shit cloak. 3 colorless.
Enough said, dude.
3 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has trample. Equipped for 3. This card sucks. It's a shit
Bye.
cloak.
Goodbye, shit cloak. There's much more cool stuff to come.
Alright, next card, Eldrazi Mimic. 2 mana, creature Eldrazi, it's a rare, it's a 2/1, and when it enters the battlefield, whenever another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may change Eldrazi Mimic's power and toughness to that creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Take it away.
Okay. This, now, once again, that's when another colorless creature enters the battlefield under your control. Right?
Yes.
Do I got that right? Okay. So,
Yes.
this card. This is a rare, so it's not reliable. Having it on turn 2 isn't going to be the norm. When you do, you have to make sure that you have enough creatures above it that are going to have a big impact. Now, if you're playing the colorless strategy and getting generic mana is not really a problem for you, you will have a ton of good options, and you'll also want this alongside other good Eldrazi creatures that are colored. So maybe, like what I'm thinking of is maybe there's like the Devoid Duskstalker or something like that. Although I don't really like that because that kind of turns you into a 3-color deck. But this card is going to be kind of access to some of the more degenerate draws that one can pull off. Like, there is ridiculous stuff you can do with this card. But if you don't really have your deck built that way with a ton of good colorless creatures, like I mean like 18 at least as a starting point, it's just a 2/1. So you really have to, it pigeonholes you into a certain synergy and strategy. Now, is that a good strategy? I think it will be. It'll take some testing to be sure. But if it's a good strategy, this is one of those cards that just kind of blows games open, makes your opponent say they did mimic, Thought Not Reality Smasher, it was horrible, my life sucks, and it was like getting Acid Moss 3 times, except it's not. So that's my take.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna give a rundown. I agree with everything you just said. So, for all of you that can't afford both sets upon release, and you want to know which set you should buy Oath of the Gatewatch first, because I'm about to give you a deck list that I guarantee you will win 1,000,000 games, and you can just grind the rest of it.
A mere
Eldrazi
million.
Mimic, 2-dimensional Infiltrator, 2 Matter Shaper, 3 Eldrazi Sky Spawner, 4 Whirler Rogues, 2 Thought Night Seers, 2 Reality Smashers, Any other cards you can think of that you think might be good. You really can
Drowner of
just
Hope.
play any other card. Drowner of Hope, like literally just the deck's gonna be insane. The deck's gonna be stupid. Just put all your Eldrazi in one deck and it'll win you games. I promise.
Yeah.
All right, next card.
It's the build it yourself. It's like the build itself Thopters deck that I'm playing right now, except they're bigger
Except it's better
and
than
meaner.
Thopters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bigger
it's
and
better.
nastier.
It's just better. Inbringer, 5 and a colorless for a 5/5 Eldrazi rare. Untap Inbringer during each other. Is it other?
Yeah.
Other players untap step. So
Or
okay.
no, it's both. Each players. It's each players. Each other players.
So untap during each
that's
other
weird.
player's untap step. Yeah, it is weird. It's for EDH. So you tap it, and Inbringer deals 1 damage to target creature or player. You can pay a colorless and tap it, and target creature can't attack or block this turn. And you can pay 2 colorless and tap it and draw a card. This card is super sweet.
Yep, that's a lot of options on a card. It is one of those cards that has kind of 2 things going against it that I don't like. One is Reflector Mage because you're paying 6 mana and doing nothing. And the other is Lightning Axe, which is set right up to just nerf this. But still, I think you play it. I still think you cast this card. Because if it sticks, if they do not have the answer, and if you know how to use its effects to the best... in the best way each turn, you are going to have a really fun game. Your opponent is going to have a really sad game.
I would just like to comment on Right Justice. He mentioned Modern banned Eye of Ugin this morning. They did at 11 o'clock in the morning. They banned Eye of Ugin from Modern. And they unbanned Sword of the Meek and Ancestral Visions. Oh my god, am I the happiest man alive.
Bold
I
choice.
have foil playsets of both of those cards.
Jeez.
My ancestral visions were worth $15 foil. Now they're worth $50. And my Sword of the Meek foils were worth $5, and now they're $40. So I'm sitting real pretty as of this morning. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. The next card is a bad one that I want to skip, but I'll say it anyway. Kozilek's Pathfinder, 6 mana, 5/5. Pay a colors. Target creature can't block Kozilek's Pathfinder this turn. Don't play it. It's bad.
Would you rather
Next
have that
card.
or an Endbringer? You don't have to answer that.
Endbringer, yeah. Alright, next card. Kozilek, the Great Distortion. 8 mana, 8 generic, 2 colorless. Legendary creature Eldrazi, mythic. It's a 12/12. Whenever you cast Kozilek, the Great Distortion, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, draw equal to the difference. It has Menace, and you can discard a card with converted mana cost X and counter target spell with converted mana cost X. Jeez Louise Papa Cheese. Did the red-green ramp deck just get another toy?
Hail Satan! Hail Satan! This card. Wow. So we were talking about how just before we came on here, when Peepy and I were just going back and forth, and he was talking about black-white control, and I was like, yep, black-white control got a lot of good removal spells, We were both like, yeah, the removal spells are great, so now they can just kill everything that ramp plays, and everything's okay, right? And then I was like, well, then they just cast Kozilek and draw 7. Oh, I guess that's not that great of an idea anymore. Oops. Did they get that? Yep, they got that. So yeah, now it does change the paradigm. It was hard enough to control ramp before. It really was a very hard deck to control. But now that you have a cast trigger on Kozilek that can just be like draw 7 to refuel, that's pretty much like another... the only way that control, like grinded out old school control is going to work, right, is if there's just no... If there's just no ramp in the format. If ramp has to get pushed out by other decks, aggressive decks, Eldrazi decks, some of the great hopes that we have. That's my opinion, anyway.
I will disagree. I think control has a place in the game, even though red green ramp exists. Like the only card that really hurts the control deck, the black-white one in particular, is Kozilek, the Great Distortion. So, like, Kozilek is like the card that crushes the black-white deck, but you have to have that card. It's only one copy in your entire 60, and for some players, 60 plus. don't want to talk
Yeah.
about that. But so
Baller.
I don't say just because this one card pushes it out. I think that matchup is very interesting, and that matchup goes fairly long. So I think at one point they'll see Kozilek the Great Distortion. But Kozilek does say it's when you cast it. Ooh.
Ooh. Oh,
I
painted
thought that
yourself
was
into
an
a corner there,
battle
didn't I'm
feel.
just letting you go. You just go on with that.
All right, never mind. Next card. We thought that was an ETB, boys and girls. All right. The next two cards I'm gonna do as a couple. We have Matter Shaper and Reality Smasher. We really don't need to say anything about these cards, and not in the sense of like the bad cards where they're just bad and we know they're bad. These cards are phenomenal, and we just know they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to think these cards are unplayable ever.
But you know, it's obvious that they're pretty special cards and that they're going to have an impact. Like the question for me is what deck, right? What's the right shell, and where does the mana go consistently? And some of the ideas that are going the furthest for me right now are mono red, mono black, maybe mono white now that we have a displacer. So it's just, for me, it's not, are these good? It's what's the best way to just abuse them.
And
you know what I mean?
I think certain versions of the deck hate on other versions of the deck. So I think there's gonna be a whole meta of just Eldrazi and beating other Eldrazi decks.
Which
like
is a shame that
the
it's a shame
mono-black
Oath
deck
got
is gonna be
delayed.
good as-
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
horrible that Oath
It's gonna
got
be like
delayed, or we
mono-black-
could have played this out for months now.
Yeah, mono black's gonna beat the mono red one, and the blue white red one's gonna beat the black one, and the black one's gonna beat the white one, and the white one's gonna suck or something. I don't know. Anyway, next card, Seer's Lantern, 3 generic mana. See, right? I'm getting it this time.
Nailed it.
Artifact, common. You tap it, you add a colorless to your mana pool, then you can pay 3, tap it, scry 1. This is a mana rock that I don't think the deck needs.
Yep, not with.
So-
I would have considered it before Ruin in their wake was spoiled, but now that Ruin's here, there's just no way.
Yep.
There's no way.
Next card, Spatial Contortion, 1 and a colorless. Instant speed, uncommon. Target creature gets +3, -3 until end of turn. Premium removal for your Eldrazi decks. Premium removal in general. I like the card a lot. The card will see play. It's also a pump spell when you need it to be.
Yeah, man. Contortion's going to be legit. It's going to matter. I've been saying that the 3 toughness is a big deal. This gets you where you need to be as far as killing those 3 toughness guys. It's legit. And to address a comment really quick, this is the confirmed list that was released today. So you guys are hearing, we're talking about cards that are actually going to be in the game. You don't have to worry about that. All right, go on.
Also, I would like to say, if you haven't done so already, please follow.
Oh, come on! All I was
Simpletown
doing was answering a question.
Simpletown 95 at Twitch. If you haven't done so already, I appreciate the follow. All right, let's continue. Every time you pause, man, I'll do it. Every time.
I see.
All
I'm
right.
starting to get that. I'm starting to figure this game out.
All right, Stoneforge Masterwork. 1 colorless, 1 generic mana.
Get it right.
Artifact equipment, rare. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control. Then shares a creature type that shares a creature type with it. Equipped for 2. So this is the ally equipment that you tutor up in your ally deck. A reason to play Relic Seeker, maybe, probably not, but you still play it in your ally deck, and you try to swing with a huge guy. It's not a deck for me. It's a deck for the dudes that are like, I want to play with my allies, and they, yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's rare. You only get 2, so building around it's very unreliable. Even using that, whatever that ally is that lets you cohort for your top 4, is going to be unreliable because there's only 2. I mean, you can do it with Bonesaw if you feel the need for speed.
Bonesaw's ready.
There you go. But I mean, nah, this ain't for me. But the next card is.
And the next card, Thought Knot Seer, 3 and a colorless, 4/4 Eldrazi rare. When it enters the battlefield, you look at your opponent's hand, you take a non-land card from among them and exile that card, and whenever Thought Not Seer leaves the battlefield, your opponent draws a card. This card's insane. This card goes automatically in the Eldrazi deck. It almost goes into literally any deck you can think of. This is like the one Eldrazi that's just super insane. Like if you're just building a mid-range green-white deck, or like a creature deck, this card will go into it. If you're building like a mono, if you're building ramp, this might be good enough in ramp to play.
Yeah.
It goes
yeah.
into literally a million different decks. This card's insane. I don't think we need to say any more about it.
Just really quick, gonna muse on like when don't you want it? I mean, every time that you get to 4 mana, if you have a colorless mana available and you cast this, whatever matchup you're in, you can probably take something that has a significant impact on the game. You can probably rob them of something amazing. In ramp, we're talking explosive vegetation, or their Thought Not Seer, or their Reality Smasher, or whatever. And against Thopters, Piakirin, or Whirler Rogue, or Thopter Spy Network, I mean, it gets there in so many ways.
I have to say that OC616, that is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Alright.
That's Bounce, Burn, and
Walker
Buff, by the way. I don't know if you know that. That's
Walker?
his Twitch name.
Oh, really?
Yep.
He doesn't like me. Alright.
Yep. Well, hey, you know, if we kicked everyone out of our chat who didn't like you, where'd my viewers be?
Yeah, I know. That's why we're not doing it on my Twitch chat. If we were doing it on my Twitch chat, we'd have about 30 people saying fucking shit in the like I'd have 30 people in the chat just saying Rosa Parks did it. Rosa Parks did it over and over again. My fan base are a unique bunch. All right, but they're devoted. They are absolutely devoted.
Yeah, man.
Walker of the Waste, 4 and a colorless for a 4/4 Eldrazi uncommon with trample. Walker of the Waste gets +1/+1 for each land you control named Waste. So this card will go right into the Eldrazi aggro deck that's like the colorless version. I think it only fits into the colorless version. Like you could play like one color other than that, but I think you want a lot of waste to make this card good. But the thing that worries me is Reflector Mage exists.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I was really excited. I did some testing with this card in a green colorless ramp deck that I already discussed, and over again, this card was a 13/13 trample that you had 3 of in your deck to draw to. I mean, it was pretty much always there on turn 5. Next turn, like Explosive Vegetation or Nissa's Revelation, and you were just doing it, man. You were going off. But now that Reflector Mage is in the format, you're paying 5 mana to not affect the board. It's hard to picture it being exciting anymore. It's really kind of frustrating.
That being said, though, when they don't have it, and you're like this card is absolutely insane against any other deck, though.
Oh yeah, it goes right over the top. It was actually pretty amazing in the ramp decks, where you could Explosive Vegetation for waste, Nissa's Renewal for waste.
The old Doomblade. Dies the Doomblade.
Well, naturally. I mean, it's a straight up. I mean, it's kind of the same straight up story, but that's you guys don't understand yet. Like Peepy and I have played some Standard. When you get Reflector Mage every match, like you just start yanking hair out if you don't have your own. It just doesn't feel fair. It's messed up.
It's very unfair.
It can drive one insane. I'm not kidding. And you guys are gonna find out.
All right. So when I first saw this card, I read it as Wanker of Generosities.
Wanker of Generosity.
That's not what the card says.
Cast the Wanker.
Wanker.
Yeah.
I'm calling it Wanker for now. For
Wankers are vigilant. I don't know if you knew this. Yeah. Wankers are vigilant.
They stick right up, boy. All right, 4 mana for a 2/3 vigilance. Tap it, add a color to your mana pool. This card might have been fine, but we have Explosive Vegetation and Ruin in their wake, so we don't care anymore.
Yep. Too bad. So sad. See you later, homie.
Yep. Next card, Warping Whale. 1 and a colorless, instant speed uncommon. Choose 1. Exile target creature with power or toughness 1 or less. So, goodbye Jace. Counter target sorcery spell. Pretty sweet. Put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token on the battlefield. Awesome. This card is great. It'll see lots of play in the Eldrazi like colorless or splash 1 color decks. This card is very good.
I know you don't want me to give this away, but this card is the 2 mana counter to Donald Trump deck. I mean, it's just I don't. I know you don't want me to tell him. I know you want to keep that on the DL, but I've got to do my job. I got to do it for the people. This card actually I think will be so much better in standard. I mean, not in standard, in duels than it has ever really been in other formats. Because at worst, 2 mana, get a Scion ramp is already something that, you know, is really hard to do in duels. Like, that's already getting a Scion and getting a quick ramp into whether it's Outland Colossus, Reality Smasher, whatever it is already big game in the format that we play right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Warping Whale,
right.
The counter is sorcery though. I think that's gonna be interesting. There's a lot of sorceries in this game. Like, this game is played at sorcery speed most of the time, and I think that's gonna get a lot of people. I think it's gonna get their big rolling thunders and make people very sad.
What about it, John? John saying, "Oh my God, Peepy." Anyway, so the next card, Crumbling Vestige. It's a land. When it enters the battlefield, taps, and when it enters the battlefield, add 1 color of any mana to your mana pool. Then you can tap it, add for colors. This card's fine.
This card is good, and I have found my favorite use for it so far that I didn't foresee until I played with it, was putting it in, I built the Simic Tempo with Eldrazi deck with Reality Smasher, Thought-Knot Seer, that noise, to go along with Skyrider Elves and Woodland Wanderers and all that noise. And being able to get that extra color to hit your Skyrider Elf or your Wanderer was actually really tight, and then you cast the Reality Smasher the next turn off it. Really good times. Good card. Probably want to play more of them than you think you do, even if you're not using a lot of the colorless effect.
Alright, I'll skip a couple of cards here and talk about Ruins of Oran Reef. It's a colorless land. It enters the battlefield tapped. You tap it to add a colorless to your mana pool, and then you can tap it. You put a +1/+1 counter on target colorless creature that entered the battlefield this turn. This card is so much better than people think. This card is didn't make it in standard, but man, is this card gonna do some gross things in this game.
Oh yeah. A free +1/+1 effect, like, and I mean really free, not as in Timberland Guide free. I mean a free +1/+1 effect in a format like Duels, where the removal isn't like the high end, is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it fits right into your Eldrazi decks. But another thing that a lot of people aren't thinking of, this goes right in to your Aristocrats decks. You have all your Blister Pods, your Carrier Thralls, your Smothering Abominations. Those are all colorless creatures.
But then you take it, like,
Your
check this out. Check my curve right now, okay? Right now I've got Rune Servitor into Vile Aggregate into Pilgrim's Eye. Like, it can hit all those things, too. So it's in Thopters as well.
Yeah, this card's so good.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, let's talk about
very legit
all
card.
the lands at once. We have Hissing Quagmire, Needle Spires, and Wandering Fumarole. Now, I would like to start off by, we did not get the duels from Shadows over Innistrad.
Yep, these are the only dual land additions that we got.
These are the only dual land additions we're getting, and I would like to point out that when I played Just Guy and the Haku Might, I was upset because my land base wasn't good. Suck it, nerds. I get 2 dual lands. Suck it. Anyway.
But, I mean, if you're down for all that,
quick.
comes into play tapped, baby. But, I mean, yeah, these dual lands are... You're going to play them, obviously, but which ones are actually going to get used to great effect? I love Hissing Quagmire because you can pair it with Sylvan Advocate. It kind of puts a whole new dimension on that one. Mm-hmm. And 4 toughness on the Fumarole, you know. That's a house. That's a house.
I think the worst of all of the lands, if you look at them all, I think Needle Spires is the worst.
There you go. Yeah. Unfortunately, that is the case. Those Twin Bolt effects are going to wreck it. You don't have to do much, but on the bright side, you know, that's an aggressive color, and when the opponent taps out and sweeps your board off your Boros tokens deck or whatever it is, you can still fire up that Needle Spires and nail them for 4, and life is beautiful again.
All right, well, we are now ending Oath of the Gatewatch, and we are going into Shadows over Innistrad.
What do you think, Peepy? Can we take about a 5-minute break, take a whiz, grab a drink, refresh the vocal cords, come back and hit Shadows? You got time for that tonight? Hello, Peepy.
My mic unplugged again. Yeah, I can take a 5-minute break and then come back at it. Yeah.
All right, dudes. 5-minute break, and we will be back, and we're going to talk about the new cards, the Shadows cards. Now, we've talked a lot about Oath. He and I have played several of these cards because they are standard, has been Oath legal for several months, but we're kind of going to dive into new territory with Shadows, and there's a lot of great stuff. Hang with us about 5 minutes.
I did play the pre-release for a while.
Oh,
yeah,
we got some pre-release stories, maybe. All right. Yeah, chill out, guys. We'll see you in just a few.
So what's up, fams? If you guys haven't done so already, follow me, bros. Tibbletown95 on Twitch. I'm popular. OC616. Yeah, got them 420s. CGB follows me. Does that mean he's a 420 YOLO swag kid? Nah, dude, I'm all about that Green Day and that Sublime. We'll get to the Geistora. We will get to it. I'm gonna go fill up my water bottle. Crawling in my skin, these words they will not heal. Alright, I'm gonna go get water.
Yo, yo, yo. I'm back.
Let me fill up my water bottle real quick.
Alright, do your thing. I'm gonna check the stream, make sure it's running. If you guys in the chat hear me, and you're still hanging out, having a good time, what are your favorite cards? Either that we've talked about so far or haven't. Throw some cards down there. Alright. Check the stream, make sure it's running. You guys in the chat hear me, and you're still hanging out, having a good time, what are you talked about so far or haven't? Alright, sweet. Everything looks good from the viewer side, at least when I pull it up. Thank you guys for hanging out. Also, big thank you to Peepy for hanging out and doing this with me. I don't know about you guys. I am loving this ability to broadcast a party chat and get multiple voices in here, so you don't just have to listen to me all the time. You can listen to some other people. I think that's really cool. But I am hearing an echo out of Peepy's side over there, so if you could turn me down on your side, Peepy, I keep on hearing my own voice back in my head. It's tripping me up a little bit. There you go. But I am hearing an echo out of Peepy's side over there, so if you could turn me down on your side, Peepy, I keep on hearing my own voice back in my head. Tripping me up. There you go. I keep hearing it. I think Peepy has my volume up a touch, but we'll get that figured out. We dealt with him. Yeah. I keep hearing it. I think Peepy has my volume up a touch, but we'll get that figured out. We dealt with him. Yeah. I keep hearing it. I think Peepy has my volume up a touch, but we'll get that figured out. I may have other guests in the future. We'll see. This is the first time I've tried anything like this. Obviously, you know, if you're interested in coming on, feel free to let me know. Well, we're just kind of taking it as it goes. This is really impromptu. This is the first time I've tried anything like this. Obviously, you know, if you're interested in coming on, feel free to let me know. We're just kind of taking it as it goes. This is really impromptu. I'm not loving the look of tutelage decks, to be honest. I don't think they gained, you know, quite what I think they were really looking for. I don't think but like Bounce just said, Mill didn't really get what it needs, I don't think. Not loving the look of tutelage decks, to be honest. I don't think they gained, you know, quite what I think they were really looking for. I don't think but like Bounce just said, Mill didn't really get what it needs, I don't think.
I am back.
So do you have my the stream on in the background? Because I'm hearing myself echo the whole time you were gone.
Oh, yeah, that's me, so I can watch what they're saying. Yeah, let me turn it down.
Alright, thanks, dude. It was driving me a little batty.
Yeah, I was wanting to read what everyone was saying, so I turned it on. I'm good.
It's all good. See, basically in a
How
nutshell, a lot
many
of people want your job. They wanna tell people about cards.
Well, I'm the best at it.
There you go.
No, I'm sure there's a million people better than me, but it just happened, guys. You have to be inside his pants, not mine.
Is the stream still working? I think I just locked up.
No, it's still working.
The stream is working, but my game locked up. Lame. Lameness. I'm gonna reboot that with a quick NAS. Hopefully I don't have to stop the stream to do it. People getting going. We didn't get Dark Dwellers, did we? Thought we might get Dark Dwellers. I don't think it was broken in this format, but that was kind of a notable omission, I think.